In the world where the strongest is out of sight, a new legend begins to rise. He carries the weight of a name that once shook gods, but this is not his father's story. This is a new war, a new awakening, and he is no ordinary hunter. The balance is shifting, the shadows are moving, and what's coming, no one is ready for. SoloLevelingRagnarok. The hunt has only just begun for SungSuho and his party, so stay tuned. In the beginning, there existed the outer gods, primordial beings of absolute power. These supreme beings crafted numerous universes, each a canvas for their infinite creativity. As they repeatedly created and destroyed universes, various substances, souls, and laws came into existence. The supreme beings' ultimate goal was to achieve eternal life. They experimented with different forms of existence, testing the boundaries of time and space. Their creations, however, eventually became repetitive and mundane. To alleviate their boredom, the supreme beings devised a form of entertainment, watching their creations wage war against each other. This endless cycle of conflict, death, and rebirth was necessary to satiate the supreme being's boredom. But something unexpected happened. A supreme being, observing the endless war, was killed by its own creation. This event sent shockwaves throughout the multiverse. When other supreme beings from different dimensions learned of this, they gathered to observe the world that had lost its master. They were intrigued by the potential consequences of this event. The scene shifts to a high school in modern-day Korea. SungSuho shares news of his acceptance into the Korea National University of Arts with his friends. They're surprised and a little skeptical, but SungSuho's excitement is palpable. As SungSuho navigates his school life, he reflects on the changes the world has undergone. 3 years ago, portals called gates began appearing, connecting the world to dungeons filled with monsters. In response, humans developed special abilities and awakened individuals emerged. These awakened possessed unique powers, allowing them to combat the monsters and maintain order. The awakened formed the Hunter Association, led by the enigmatic Woo Jin Chao. As SungSuho continues his daily routine, a new threat emerges, a humanoid monster. The monster's attack spreads chaos, and infected people begin to transform into similar creatures. One of the hunters, Hunter Kim, is infected by the monster's scratch. Despite his initial confidence, he transforms into a humanoid monster, attacking his comrades. As the chaos erupts, SungSuho finds himself in the midst of the battle. He sees a lady, injured and helpless, about to be attacked by one of the humanoid monsters. With no time to think, SungSuho grabs a fire extinguisher and uses it to deflect the monster's attack. In that moment, SungSuho discovers his own hidden potential. He awakens as an awakened, possessing supernatural abilities. A glitch-like effect appears, signaling his transformation. SungSuho's life is forever changed. He must navigate this new world, confronting the challenges and opportunities that come with his newfound powers. Will he become a hunter, fighting to protect humanity, or will he forge his own path? Chapter 2 of the manhwa SoloLevelingRagnarok continues, with the protagonist, Suho, having finally awoken as an awakened. He receives a notification congratulating him on becoming a player and informing him that he has completed the secret quest, Courage of the Weak. Suho is pleased to have finally awoken his abilities in this new world. He recalls using a fire extinguisher to attack a monster, which is now recovering. The monster, a D-rank awakened Mistborn, stands up, and Suho tells the lady he rescued to run. Suho is now faced with 3 Mistborns, 2 unawakened, and 1 D-rank awakened. They launch an attack, but Suho feels more confident in defending himself and the lady. He uses the fire extinguisher to attack, damaging one of the unawakened Mistborns. Suho is forced to use his fire to fight, launching a powerful punch that defeats the Mistborn. He is surprised by his newfound strength and continues to attack the remaining Mistborns. Suho levels up after defeating the second Mistborn and completes the quest tutorial Take Down Mistborn and Level Up. He receives a quest completion reward but doesn't pay much attention to it due to the excitement of the situation. Suho faces the main D-rank Mistborn and attempts to deal a fatal blow. However, his attack doesn't have much effect. The Mistborn counterattacks, puncturing Suho's chest with its nails. Suho kicks the Mistborn and lunges away to avoid further attacks. He receives a notification stating that a harmful status effect has been detected, and through the effect of his longevity skill, all status effects have been neutralized. Suho becomes more at ease fighting the Mistborn and remembers receiving a notification about a quest reward. He accepts the reward, which gives him 2 options, 5 ability points or a random item. Suho chooses the 3 strength points, which are added to his regular strength, making it a total of 14. He is able to push the Mistborn away and launches another attack. However, his attack still doesn't have much effect on the Mistborn. Suho adds the remaining 5 points he received into strength, which gives him an influx of power. Suho punches the Mistborn, shattering its teeth, and launches his fist into the mouth of the Mistborn. He thought that a rank is decided the moment you awaken, and no awakened can become stronger than their rank. Suho launches different attacks on the Mistborn, and the Mistborn is unable to protect itself. Suho then deals a fatal blow to the Mistborn, decapitating it and defeating it. Suho takes a breath, finally being able to defeat the Mistborn. He receives a notification stating that he has defeated the D-rank awakened Mistborn and has leveled up 3 times. Suho sits down, giving a sigh of relief, and thinks that he too is an awakened. He feels more courageous and thinks that he can change his life for the better. However, a new threat emerges as a C-rank Mistborn jumps into the building, lunging an attack at Suho with its massive sword. Suho is surprised and must now face this new and powerful enemy. Will Suho be able to survive this new threat? Stay tuned for Chapter 3 as the story continues. Chapter 3. Just outside the building, an alarm is raised, warning of a dungeon break at Korean Art University. Nearby residents are urged to evacuate quickly. The army is positioned outside the perimeter, waiting for a hunter above C rank to arrive and help normalize the situation. Although the dungeon is less than C rank, the presence of a C rank Mistborn requires a more powerful hunter to intervene. The C rank Mistborn has entered the building, and Suho is left shocked and unsure of what to do. The Mistborn is a C rank awakened Mistborn, extremely powerful and wielding a massive sword. Suho, still reeling from the previous battle, tries to stand up, hoping his recent level up will give him an edge. However, the C-rank Mistborn proves too powerful, weaving his sword at an incredible speed. Suho barely dodges the attack, which slices through the wall behind him. He's left bloody and scared. In desperation, Suho grabs a fire extinguisher and kicks it directly at the Mistborn. The Mistborn slices through the extinguisher, causing a massive gas explosion. Suho takes advantage of the distraction to run through the door and escape. The Mistborn notices people hiding on the rooftop and targets them. Suho sees this and knows he must act, despite feeling exhausted and weak. He jumps to the rooftop, landing a kick on the back of the Mistborn's neck. However, the kick has little effect, and the Mistborn counterattacks. Suho dodges, but it's clear he's outmatched. The Mistborn's attack proves fatal for the people on the rooftop. Suho tries to land multiple punches, but the Mistborn is too powerful. The protagonist takes a severe beating, including a devastating slash from the Mistborn's sword. He's thrown into a wall, breaking it with his back, and falls to the ground, coughing up blood. The Mistborn approaches Suho, ready to deliver the final blow. Suho, with only 1 HP left, struggles to stand up. He thinks to himself, "I got lucky." The Mistborn smiles, knowing he has almost killed Suho. Just as the Mistborn is about to attack, a crack in time appears, and a figure emerges from the flash of light. The figure slices off the Mistborn's hand, saving Suho from certain death. Suho looks up, dazed and weak, and says, "An ant," before fainting. The figure is revealed to be Baru, one of the characters from the original Solo Leveling series. Baru has a healing ability and uses it to heal Suho. Baru says, "I arrived too late, it seems." He looks at the Mistborn and growls. Baru attacks the Mistborn, splattering his body everywhere. Baru then goes on a rampage, ending and attacking every single Mistborn in the area. He rescues everyone around, including the soldiers, who are surprised by his speed and agility. When Baru finishes off the Mistborns, he returns to Suho, who is still lying on the floor. Baru bows down to Suho and says, "It's been a while, young monarch." Chapter 4. Chapter 4 begins with Suho experiencing a flashback of his childhood memories, which were previously sealed away. These memories reveal that Baru, a powerful and mysterious figure, was present in Suho's life as a child. Baru appears to be a guardian or helper, watching over Suho as he plays and draws. The scene cuts to Suho waking up in a hospital, where he's being attended to by a doctor and nurse. He receives a phone call from his uncle, asking if he's okay. Suho reassures his uncle that he's fine. Suho then watches the news, which reports on the Mistborn attack at the Korean Art University. The media attributes the attack to Mistborns, but the Hunter Association is still investigating. Suho thinks to himself that his awakening wasn't just a dream. Suho checks his status window and sees that his stats have increased on all his individual stats in his status window, and he's currently on level 5. He also has a skill, Ruler's Authority. Then Suho's shadow shows a figure, and Baru appears, and Suho is surprised. Baru explains that he took care of the Mistborns, and that Suho survived because of him. Suho has a flashback of memories from his childhood, including Baru protecting him and other shadow creatures, and Suho is surprised that he took care of the Mistborns. Baru explains that he jumped through dimensions to meet Suho, and that he's been searching for him. Baru reveals that Suho's father, SungJinwoo, is fighting a war in space against invaders. Baru shows Suho a visual representation of the war, explaining that the great ShadowMonarch is protecting the world from the outer gods Itarim. Baru hands Suho a key, saying that he needs to become stronger to find out about his mom and dad and how to meet his father. The key is to the Shadow Dungeon, and Suho receives a quest alert. With Baru's encouragement, Suho enters the portal to the Shadow Dungeon, determined to become stronger and reunite with his parents. Baru has a flashback to when he was sent to Earth by Suho's father to undo the seal on Suho's memories and powers. Baru's mission is to protect Suho and help him become strong enough to reunite with his father. The chapter ends with Suho entering the Shadow Dungeon, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. With Baru's guidance and support, Suho is determined to become stronger and uncover the truth about his past and his parents. On to the next chapter. Please like and subscribe. Chapter 5. The chapter begins with the protagonist walking through a portal and entering the Shadow Dungeon, also known as the Land of the Dead. Baru explains that this is a place where the living can enter only if they have been granted permission by the monarch. Suho looks around and notes that the landscape looks more like a ruined city than a dungeon. He feels a sense of familiarity, but then a notification is triggered, and it's a quest called Survivor. The quest requires the protagonist to survive for 4 hours in the dungeon and prove himself. SungSuho is immediately attacked by a goblin, but he quickly kicks it away. Baru, who is watching from a distance, warns the protagonist that there may be more goblins nearby, so SungSuho launches himself at the goblin and kills it to prevent it from alerting other goblins. Baru thought that the protagonist was underestimating the goblins, but SungSuho is actually in control. Unfortunately, there was another goblin just nearby, and he notifies the other goblins of Sung's presence. The protagonist is surrounded, and he has to face all the goblins in order to gain the respect of the dungeon. He uses his ruler's authority to attack the goblins and shatter their heads. The fight drags on and on for a while, and in the process, the protagonist receives a notification that he has learned a new skill called Endurance. As the protagonist continues to fight the goblins, he levels up multiple times and learns new skills. He uses his ruler's authority to pick up objects and attack the goblins. He uses his ability to catch an arrow shot by a goblin and is able to fire it back at the goblin. Baru is impressed by the protagonist's abilities and notes that he is using his ruler's authority skill very effectively. The protagonist continues to fight the goblins, using his skills and abilities to take them down. After 4 hours of fighting, the protagonist emerges victorious and claims the dungeon as his own. Baru congratulates SungSuho on passing the trial, and so he receives a reward in the form of a rune stone. The stone has the power of shadow extraction, which allows the protagonist to extract mana from corpses and create shadow soldiers. The protagonist is excited to learn this new skill, which is a key part of his father's authority as the Shadow Monarch. He notes that he can use this skill to control corpses and summon shadow soldiers. SungSuho then uses his shadow extraction skill to summon a shadow soldier from a dead goblin. He assigns a command to the soldier, saying "Arise," and the chapter ends with the protagonist feeling a sense of excitement and anticipation for what's to come. Chapter 6. The chapter begins with the protagonist utilizing his shadow extraction skill to revive 3 goblins. However, he is underwhelmed by the outcome, expecting a more impressive display. Baru reassures him that the skill will grow stronger over time and is influenced by the protagonist's intelligence stats and level. The protagonist suddenly recalls that he hasn't eaten in 2 days and decides to return to the hospital for a meal. After eating, he feels rejuvenated. Baru explains to the protagonist that now that he has awakened, he has 3 key responsibilities: protecting the world from monsters, locating his missing mother, and restoring Baru's powers. Baru needs to absorb the essence from the monsters in the dungeon in order to gain back his full strength. To do this, the protagonist needs to get into a dungeon, so he then goes to the Hunter Association to register as an awakened and to know his rank as a hunter. He's disappointed to find out that he's just an E-rank hunter with his magic level being only 46. But he still decides to join the mining team so as to enter the dungeons and further his agenda. SungSuho joins the mining team to gain access to the dungeon and begins collecting resources. He encounters another awakened individual, who is surprised by the protagonist's exceptional strength despite being an E-rank hunter. They seem to know each other from the university. The protagonist reveals that his magic level is 46, which is remarkably low even for an E-rank hunter. He is astonished, having witnessed the protagonist's impressive combat skills earlier. Baru appears, startling the other E-rank hunter. Baru reveals that he is awakened as a summoner and will remain by the protagonist's side to provide protection. The scene shifts to the strike team battling monsters within the dungeon. They stumble upon a mysterious pathway leading to a secret chamber, where they discover a sword embedded in the ground. One of the team members retrieves the sword due to his greed, neglecting the suspicious look of the scenario painted out in front of them, but is overcome by the sword's essence and becomes possessed by its dark energy. The sword is revealed to be the legendary sword of the Fang Monarch. The possessed team member brutally slaughters his colleagues, leaving the protagonist's survival uncertain. Will the protagonist manage to survive? The outcome will be revealed in the next chapter. Chapter 7. The chapter begins with the possessed Fang Monarch attacking his teammates, fueled by an immense bloodlust. The scene is gruesome, with the Fang Monarch mercilessly killing off his colleagues. The scene shifts to the protagonist, who summons shadow goblins using his shadow authority skill. The people around him are shocked, but the protagonist is satisfied with the result. He thinks to himself that he can summon up to 3 shadows, but it's inconvenient that he needs corpses to use his shadow extraction skill. Baru reminds the protagonist that they came to the dungeon to level up, so he tells Baru that he can eat off the crystals that fall off to gather some mana. Then suddenly Baru felt the presence of an ominous being. He alerts Suho and says that it feels like a monarch, but it isn't his master but something else. We suddenly start to hear the growls from the monsters, approaching from the dark depths of the dungeon space. We see as 3 Fang Wolves walk up to the mining team. This scares off the mining team members, but Suho stands back to fend off the wolves. The protagonist then engages in combat with 3 wolf creatures. He takes out a sword from his archive and is able to defeat one of the wolves. Then, using his shadow authority skill, Suho summons a wolf creature from the corpse to aid him in battle. The fight is intense, but the protagonist emerges victorious, leveling up in the process. Baru is impressed by the protagonist's combat skills, noting that he has grown accustomed to using his shadow authority skill in battle. The protagonist realizes that his shadow extraction and summoning skills don't use up his mana, making him able to fight and summon monsters easily during combat. The protagonist then receives a quest notification, warning him of an enemy that will come after him. He enters the dungeon, ready to face the enemy. They then encounter a member of the attack squad. The other person with Suho runs to him, trying to explain that they were attacked by a monster. The protagonist then sees that the person they met isn't actually their team member anymore, but is now a possessed Fang Monarch who is about to attack the squad member. The protagonist intervenes, saving the squad member from almost losing his head. He quickly summons his Shadow Wolves to attack the possessed Fang Monarch. Baru warns the protagonist that the enemy has the aura of a monarch, but is not one. However, the enemy is still too powerful for the protagonist to defeat at his current level. The protagonist is determined to become stronger and defeat the enemy. He summons what seems to be like a grave of swords that he got from the Shadow Dungeon raid, ready to face the possessed Fang Monarch in battle. Chapter 8. The chapter continues with the intense battle between the protagonist and the possessed Fang Monarch. Despite his courageous efforts, the protagonist struggles to land a hit on his opponent, who seems to be able to deflect every attack with ease. Baru observes the fight, noting that the protagonist's silhouette reveals the shadow of a true monarch. He comments that the protagonist's strength is impressive, but still limited by his current level. The possessed Fang Monarch proves to be a formidable foe, capable of deflecting multiple sword attacks with ease. The protagonist begins to tire, realizing that his current strength may not be enough to defeat his opponent. In a moment of desperation, the protagonist recalls his conversation with Baru about his restricted strength. He remembers Baru's words, "Your strength was restricted when you were a baby. You can think of it as having recovered the talents you had at that time, but you still need to visualize the infinite possibility that your authority can possess." Inspired by this memory, the protagonist comes up with a new strategy. He uses his Shadow Authority skill to transform his wolves into gauntlets, granting him enhanced physical strength. With his newfound abilities, the protagonist launches a fierce counterattack against the possessed Fang Monarch. Baru watches in awe, shocked by the protagonist's rapid growth and innovative use of his Shadow Authority skill. The battle rages on, with the protagonist using his ruler's authority to wield multiple weapons and deliver a devastating finishing blow to the possessed Fang Monarch. Baru is impressed by the protagonist's skills, noting that he is using shadow soldiers as a weapon. He comments that the protagonist's battle sense is impressive, especially considering his limited experience. In the end, the protagonist emerges victorious. Chapter 9. This begins where the protagonist concludes the battle, defeating the possessed Fang Monarch. Baru praises Suho, saying he never doubted him for a minute. Suho responds that he was worried since the enemy had a red name, but wasn't worried that he wouldn't be able to defeat him. Suho then grins at Baru about his blatant lies. Suho receives a new skill, Storm Slash. He's more excited about the skill than Ruler's Authority, and this concerns Baru. Storm Slash is a skill that suits Suho's fighting style, and so he tests it out on a rock, finding it very effective, though it drains a lot of mana. Baru explains that the Shadow Authority is far more incredible than this skill. The scene shifts to Suho walking up to the bodies of the hunters in the SungMonarch's altar. He contemplates using shadow extraction on them. However, he decides against it, considering it to be a form of punishment. Baru acknowledges Suho's decision, saying that if they have to fight even when they're dead, it's unbearable. Suho's decision is a good one. Suho takes the bodies and puts them in a truck. He then asks Baru about the Monarch Sanctuary and his father's involvement with the Monarchs. Baru reveals that Suho's father, SungJinwoo, is the Shadow Monarch, and killed the other monarchs who invaded Earth. The Fang Monarch's sword expresses its hatred for the Shadow Monarch's descendant. Suho responds, understanding the sword's perspective but also pointing out the foolishness of being hostile towards him. He proposes an alliance with the sword to protect the sanctuary from the Ithrim invaders. The sword is taken aback by Suho's proposal, thinking to itself that it's absurd to work with a Shadow Monarch's descendant. Suho picks up the sword, suggesting that the Shadow and Fang Monarchs could fight together. He is able to convince the sword, and so it's left speechless. The chapter then cuts to an article being uploaded about Suho's heroic actions in the dungeon. The article describes how an E-rank hunter went into the dungeon alone to save the hunters trapped inside. Suho's heroic actions in the dungeon. There are testimonies from people who saw Suho's bravery and were saved by him. The Hunter Association discusses the article and decides that it's time to recruit more E-rank hunters. One of the members suggests contacting the hero from the article, and they all agree. The chapter concludes with the association deciding to reach out to Suho, well aware that he is the hero they've been reading about. This concludes Chapter 9. Chapter 10. Suho's phone buzzed with notifications from various guilds, all eager to recruit him after his heroic feat in the dungeon. However, he had no intention of joining any of them. Entering a guild will only hinder my progress with the system, he explained to Baru. Baru nodded in agreement. Many people want your talents, Suho, but they don't understand your true value. Suho's attention turned to the Fang of Rakan, the sword he had acquired from the dungeon. He recalled the Fang Monarch's words, "There are other sacred grounds for the Fang Monarch." Suho asked the sword if it knew the location of any of these sacred grounds. The sword replied that it did, but warned Suho that the area had experienced a dungeon break. The site was now infested with monsters, making it a perilous destination. Undeterred, Suho geared up, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Baru accompanied him, along with the sword. As they arrived at the location, they found it deserted and closed off from the public. Suho noted that the area was owned by the Hyena Guild, making it a potentially hostile territory. Baru cautioned Suho against trespassing, but Suho's curiosity got the better of him. As they ventured deeper into the dungeon, the air grew thick with fog. Baru explained that the fog was mana manifested in a physical form. Suddenly, a group of ape-like creatures emerged from the fog, their eyes fixed menacingly on the protagonist. Without hesitation, Suho drew his sword and prepared for battle. He combined his hand-to-hand combat skills with Ruler's authority, using various weapons to keep his opponents guessing. Suho then resurrected the defeated creatures, adding them to his shadowy entourage. They pressed onward, then stumbled upon a camp within the dungeon. Suho sensed the presence of people, but his confusion turned to alarm when he saw a truck arrive, disgorging blindfolded captives. Suho's instincts kicked in, and he rushed to intervene, determined to stop the kidnapping and uncover the truth behind the sinister events unfolding before him. Baru's thoughts turned to Suho's heritage, wondering if his father's and grandfather's influence had instilled in him a strong sense of justice, driving him to act first and think later. The stage was set for a thrilling confrontation. Would Suho be able to thwart the kidnappers and unravel the mystery? The adventure continues in Chapter 11. Chapter 11. SungSuho sprang into action, focused on freeing the captives without a second thought. However, as he entered the scene, he realized he might have walked into a potentially harmful situation. Trespassing on Hyena Guild property was illegal, so he swiftly used his shadow authority to conceal his face. Suho found himself in a heated battle against the Hyena Guild members. Despite being outnumbered, he remained calm, dodging and weaving their attacks with ease. He assessed their strength as average D rank, making it manageable for him to take them down one by one. Baru watched in awe, impressed that the young monarch could hold his own against B rank opponents. Suho efficiently tied up the Hyena Guild members and freed the captives, instructing them to escape to safety. Baru wondered why the Hyena Guild was kidnapping people in the first place. The sword, sensing Suho's curiosity, revealed that it could feel the presence of other fragments of the Monarch of Fangs. The sword guided Suho to the source, leading them to a prison where people were being tortured and experimented on. Suho was shocked to discover a caged dog, injured and captured. However, the sword corrected him, stating that it was not a dog, but a descendant of the King of Beasts, the Fang Monarch. Suho sensed the creature's declining vitality and knew that if left untreated, it could prove fatal. Suddenly, Suho felt the presence of someone outside. Turning to look, he was surprised to see a beast approaching. The sword recognized the beast as Braki, assigned to protect the Fang Monarch's descendant. However, Braki's intentions were far from noble. Braki dashed at Suho, annoyed that he was holding the Fang Monarch's descendant. Suho barely dodged the attack, shocked by Braki's terrifying speed. Suho survived the attack, and his endurance skill leveled. Baru revealed that he had sensed a strange energy since their arrival, which he now recognized as Atarim's energy emanating from Braki. The sword rushed to confront Braki, who laughed mischievously, admitting to absorbing the young Fang Monarch's blood to maintain his strength. Suho used Ruler's authority to retrieve the young Fang Monarch from Braki's grasp. A quest notification appeared, tasking Suho with taking down the hyena Braki and securing the young monarch's safety. Chapter 12. Baru held the young Fang Monarch, annoyed that he couldn't do much to help. The young Fang Monarch looked miserable. Suho received a quest to take down Braki and secure the young monarch's safety. He wondered how a monster like Braki could create a guild and start kidnapping people. Suddenly, people from the side shouted, "Mr. Braki, get us out of here! That guy's not normal!" Braki attacked and killed them, shocking Suho. Braki declared that those who didn't know their place would be executed. Suho launched an attack, but Braki countered it. Suho criticized Braki for killing innocent people, but Braki replied that the powerful didn't need reasons to take what they wanted. Braki attacked Suho, who dodged and weaved around the blows. Suho used his storm/skill, but Braki laughed, saying it was pathetic. The sword of the young monarch suddenly attacked Braki, striking him from behind. Suho used Ruler's authority to pierce Braki, spinning the sword for more damage. The sword asked Braki why he had changed and betrayed the Fang Monarch. Braki then remembered the Fang Monarch, but his thoughts were interrupted by the possessed power of the Atarim. Baru revealed that he was possessed and had no respect for the Fang Monarch anymore. Braki broke the sword into two pieces and attacked Suho. Suho thought about his father's legacy and mustered the courage to withstand the attack. The sword's essence leaked from the broken blade, and the sword thought it was the end. However, the young Fang Monarch's descendant absorbed the essence, healing his injuries. The young monarch grew into an intimidating size and protected Suho from Braki's attacks. Suho received a notification. The successor of the Fang has shown respect to your fighting spirit. Do you accept the successor of the Fang as a part of your party? Suho was surprised, thinking about the young wolf's sudden growth and request to join his party. The chapter ended with Suho and the young Fang Monarch preparing to face Braki together. Chapter 13. Suho and the young Fang Monarch's descendant stood together, the descendant now fully healed after absorbing the power of the broken sword. A notification appeared, stating that the Fang acknowledged Suho's fighting spirit and asked if he would accept the Fang as his ally. Suho accepted, and a rush of energy flowed into him, granting him the Fang's memories. Suho discovered that the Fang and Braki were once close, but possessed Ithari members had scorned and controlled Braki, changing his original programming to protect the Fang. Suho realized that the Fang wasn't seeking revenge, but trying to save Braki. He received a quest to find the heirs of the monarchs and recruit them as allies. The bond between Suho and the Fang formed, merging their powers and increasing Suho's speed, agility, and strength. Braki attacked, but Suho, now empowered, dodged and countered with ease. Suho received a notification that he could combine with the Fang to become stronger, enhancing his senses. He dodged Braki's attacks, feeling his power and strength increase, his body light, and his senses sharper. Suho landed a powerful kick, sending Braki flying. Braki, struggling to maintain consciousness, was overtaken by the Itharim's power, refusing to be defeated. The two clashed, exchanging blows. Suho learned the martial arts skill, increasing his bare-handed attack damage. Suho delivered a devastating attack, rendering Braki immobile. As the energy from the merge depleted, the Fang hair remorsefully exited Suho's body. Braki, defeated, remembered his original purpose, to protect the Fang hair. The power of the Itharim faded from Braki's eye, and he apologized for failing to protect the Fang hair. The Fang Hair howled, and Suho received a notification that he had defeated Braki and he leveled up twice. Chapter 14 starts with the Fang's Descendant mourning the loss of Braki. Beru, Suho's companion, praises Suho for his victory. Suho then returns to the Shadow Dungeon. He decides to designate a part of the Shadow Dungeon as a territory for the Fang Hair. He names the Fang Hair Gray and proceeds to give Gray a safe place to live and grow. Suho receives a notification that the territory has been successfully designated. Suho and Beru sit on a tree branch, discussing the system and how it's different from SungJinwoo's system. Beru explains that Suho's system is adapting to help him advance. Suho checks his inventory and rewards. Beru finds that he has gained points and a new title, Wolf Slaughterer. The scene cuts to Lee Min-sang's office. He's the vice CEO of the Grim Reaper Guild. Lee Min-sang receives a call from someone who knows about his possible involvement in the Hyena Guild incident. We learn that the Hyena Guild was a small guild that was actually being sponsored by the Grim Reaper Guild. Lee Min-sang takes the call. We see as the person on the phone is explaining the incident involving a masked person exposing the Hyena Guild, saying that it's been aired on the news. The person warns him to wrap things up with the Hyena Guild cleanly. Lee Min-sang responds confidently, saying that he'll handle the situation. The person ends the call with Lee Min-sang. Lee Min-sang is revealed to be an A-rank hunter, seeking to gain more power and respect. He holds a valuable item called Stardust, which seems to be important for his plans. He's frustrated with the person he was talking to on the phone, who used to be his driver. The person awakened as an S-rank hunter, and Lee Min-sang now views him to be arrogant. So he gets mad, bashing his table and breaking it as a result. He says that once his plans go through, the scales will tip in his favor. I hope you are enjoying my videos. Please leave a like for more chapters. Chapter 15. The scene returns to the Shadow Dungeon, where Gray, the Fang's descendant, is handling the beasts within his territory. Beru praises Gray, saying he fights well and should continue to grow stronger to protect Suho. Suho checks his quest log and notices a daily quest triggered due to Gray's attacks on the dungeon folks. It reads, Shadow Dungeon Cleanup. Suho completes the quest. However, he wants to continue hunting to see if there are additional rewards. He uses the horn flute to summon more goblins and continues to fight them. As Suho fights, he uses his shadow authority to resurrect some of the goblins, making them fight alongside him and Gray. Together, they take down the goblins with ease. After 3 hours of hunting, Gray is exhausted, but they took down 200 goblins, 20 goblin commanders, and centurions, exceeding the quest requirements. Suho receives a notification that the quest has been completed, and he receives some rewards and a new pair of gauntlets. Suho equips the gauntlets, which increase his physical damage by 30%, though they're a bit too heavy. He invests his ability points into strength, having 43 strength points. Suho exits the dungeon and meets up with his friend at a dungeon site. He asks for Suho's assistance, saying that the collection team that he was expecting didn't show up. The collection team is supposed to collect items from monster corpses, but they're short-handed. Suho agrees to help. Then, the main attack team arrives, their abilities ranging from D-rank magic-type hunters to C-rank healer. Suho is displeased with the team's leader, who seems incompetent, but he accepts to help his friend by joining the collection team in the dungeon. Suho seems to believe that he can get more clues concerning the Atarim group in this dungeon, and forges on into the dungeon. The scene then cuts to a space where some humans are being experimented on. It seems to be a snippet of what's to come. Why would monsters be experimenting on people? Stay tuned as we uncover this in the coming chapters. Chapter 16. The chapter starts with Suho's party in the dungeon. They're greeted by lizard-like monsters. The monsters attack the party, but the party fights back and is able to hold their own against them. The healer, who's also the leader, tells the collection team to stick close and collect quickly. However, the collection team is unhappy with this idea, as it puts them in harm's way. Suho uses his shadow authority to summon shadow goblins, which help collect drops from the lizard monsters. The strike team is surprised to see how quickly the collection team finishes their work. One of the team members alerts the leader to a corpse, which appears to be a Mistborn. The team is concerned, as Mistborns are known to be quite powerful and dangerous. Please, take a second to just like the video, it really helps the channel. Suho's friend remembers the Mistborn incident at the Korean University, and Suho thinks to himself that this is really strange. Despite the danger, the team decides to continue their hunt. As we venture deeper into the dungeon, we are shown a group of people being experimented on. The monsters are using the humans as test subjects, saying that they need more firewood supply, referring to humans as firewood. One of the monsters senses the presence of hunters and decides to capture them for firewood. The scene cuts back to Suho's party, who are fighting more lizard men. The healer pulls out a ball-like object, revealed to be Stardust, a mana amplification stimulant. However, before he can use it, the demon appears and stabs the captain from behind. The monster needs the captain alive, as well as other hunters, to be used for firewood. The hunters are shocked to see the monster gulp his own Stardust, which enhances its strength. The monster easily defeats the hunters, but leaves them alive. Cutting back to the collection team, Suho receives a quest to rescue the survivors. The quest states that there are 7 survivors nearby who have been captured by a demon. Suho must now rescue the hunters from the demon. Will he be successful? The chapter ends with a cliffhanger. Chapter 17. The chapter starts with Suho receiving a quest to save the hunters captured by demons. Suho informs Baru that a quest has appeared, and so they decide to act quickly. Suho tells his friend to leave the dungeon immediately, as he senses something is wrong. He escorts his friend out, and then returns to find the strike team. Suho and Baru enter the dungeon, and Suho uses his bond spell to merge with Gray. They dash inward, finding the area where experiments are being conducted on humans. The monster in charge is pleased to see that the firewood has been replenished. He mentions that the Stardust production will continue without issues, referring to Stardust as an awakening stimulant poison that eats away at the life force of the hunter who uses it. Suho interrupts the monsters, kicking open the door and readying himself for battle. He sees the demons, the Mistborns being burned, and the survivors. Suho dodges the demon's attack and retaliates, throwing the demon back. The demon is shocked by Suho's speed, despite being enhanced with Stardust. The other demons join the fight. Suho considers using Shadow Authority on Braki to revive him. He seeks permission from Gray, who we see accepts the plea. Suho uses his Shadow Authority to summon a Braki soldier from his corpse. So they face off the young demon, while his Shadow Soldier faces the other to even the plane. The young monarch has the upper hand in his fight. Braki, now fighting alongside Suho. Suho's party now matches the demons in numbers, with Suho, Gray, and Braki. The scene cuts to an unknown figure who is introduced, and the chapter ends with Suho and Braki's face-off against the demons. Chapter 18. The chapter introduces an unfamiliar character, Essel, who seems distrustful and unsure of who summoned her. She's surprised to see a shadow of Braki fighting a demon. Suho is battling the demons, and with Braki's help, the battle plane is evened out. Suho can now go toe-to-toe with the demons, but then he's attacked by one of the demons using magic from behind. Suho counterattacks, throwing the demon away. The demon suspects Suho might be SungJinwoo, due to his use of Shadow's authority. The young demon is outmatched by Suho, but his fellow demon intervenes, making it tough for Suho. Braki tries to split them up to one-on-one. Essel joins the fight, asking about Mr. SungJinwoo. She's wounded, seeming lost, and wondering how she got here. Baru recognizes her voice and approaches her. Baru is glad that Essel came, hyping her up to be on par with an S-rank hunter. The demons seem to recognize Essel, as she has some history with them. Though she's injured, drained, and is no match for the demons in her state. Baru shares some mana with Essel, increasing her stats by 50% using a harsh skill to kickstart her mana. However, this comes with a curse of insanity as a side effect. The fight continues, with Suho facing the youngest demon, Braki against another, and Essel against the magic demon user. Suho kills the youngest, leveling up and increasing Valkyrie Horn's physical damage by 1%. The other demons are shocked and worried. Then we see as the effect of Barris's skill ends, in Essel. She falls to the ground, though Suho takes over, dashing at the other demon and pausing its existence. The last demon thinks to devour Essel in her weak state, to get more power so he can maybe survive. But Suho interrupts, breaking the demon's hand. Braki then attacks the demon, ending the fight. Baru checks on Essel, who's surprised to see Suho using shadow soldiers. She realizes Suho might be the young monarch, SungJinwoo's son. The chapter ends with Suho's identity revealed to Essel. The chapter starts with Essel recognizing Suho as the young monarch. She faints due to exhaustion. Suho assembles the other hunters, and Baru is able to heal them. The quest to rescue the kidnapped people was cleared, and he receives ability points and 700 gold. He unlocks the store window in his system and buys a low-grade healing potion. He uses it to heal Essel. Baru teases Suho for using gold on a useless demon. Suho decides to bring Essel to the Shadow Dungeon. After a little while, the scene cuts to Soul Station, where a hunter investigates the incident. He mentions finding corpses of torn lizards, Mistborns, and a partially destroyed underground room with sword marks. The hunter asks Suho's friend if he knows SungSuho, and Suho's friend responds. He says Suho is his junior, saying he helped him and then went to a safe place to hide. The scene cuts back to the Shadow Dungeon, where Essel wakes up and explains the situation to Suho. Baru tells her about the ShadowMonarch's departure from Earth. Essel explains that she met Suho in the tutorial and recognizes him. Suho vaguely remembers her. Essel explains the situation in the Demon Realm, where the Lurdia household was attacked and she lost her strength due to blood loss. Suho offers to help her revive the Lurdia household. The chapter ends with Suho receiving a notification asking if he wants to recruit Essel as a teammate. Suho accepts, and Essel joins his team. Chapter 20. The chapter opens with SungSuho and Isol in the dungeon. They're engaged in conversation. Suho discovers that Isol is also a young Mornock, a fact stemming from her being the last descendant of White Flames and a pure-blooded demon noble. He requests that she join his group to aid in completing the Monarch quest. Isol, surprised, accepts the offer. The scene transitions to Suho and the others, gathered outside, ready to test Suho's new bond skill.
The chapter unfolds amidst the lavish setting of an opulent lounge, where we encounter Lee Min-sung basking in the afterglow of his carefully orchestrated media manipulation. He scrolls through a series of online articles, each one meticulously crafted to portray him in a positive light, a smug smile playing on his lips as he revels in the ease with which he shapes public perception. His solitary indulgence is interrupted by the arrival of a woman who carries herself with an air of poise. She commands the attention of the room, requesting the dismissal of everyone present, her familiarity with Lee and her understanding of his past dealings hanging heavy in the air. With the lounge cleared and the woman settling in, she presents Lee with a proposition. She expresses a keen interest in acquiring a significant quantity of stardust, her tone expressing how ready she is to buy. Lee hesitates, his carefully constructed facade of effortless power momentarily faltering, as he expresses that one of his stardust production facilities was recently shut down, putting a strain on his ability to meet such a large demand. Undeterred, the woman presses on, her unwavering persistence and persuasive arguments ultimately swaying Lee to accommodate her needs. As he agrees to fulfill her request, his thoughts drift to a mysterious young boy, their connection shrouded in an aura of intrigue and unspoken significance. Meanwhile, deep within the depths of the dungeon, Isol and Gray diligently battle their way through hordes of goblins, their movements honed by countless encounters, their determination fueled by the desire to push their limits and ascend to new heights of strength. Suho, still reeling from his encounter with the formidable Lee Min-sung, joins them in their relentless pursuit of power, driven by a burning desire to transcend his current limitations. As they navigate the treacherous corridors of the dungeon, Suho grapples with the weight of his aspirations. He yearns for the strength to protect himself and those he cares about. The scene then cuts to Baru speaking to Suho back at home. Suho expresses the inconvenience from the limitations imposed by his current E-rank hunter status. Opportunities to join a strike team to help accelerate his growth are scarce, leaving him feeling trapped. Baru, ever perceptive of Suho's internal struggles, proposes a radical solution, applying for a reawakening of his latent powers. However, Suho, wary of attracting unwanted attention from the Itarim apostles, quickly dismisses the suggestion, unwilling to risk exposing himself to such a formidable threat. Though Baru explains that the Itarim apostles' ability to traverse dimensions is hampered by the very nature of their arrival. The dimensional crack, a scar in the fabric of reality, restricts the flow of mana, limiting the passage of powerful entities from the outer universe. This limitation, Baru argues, suggests that the apostle currently operating within their world possesses a relatively low power level, having been forced to utilize a less potent form of dimensional transfer. Suho, feeling hopeful, recognizes an untapped opportunity. He recalls a potential ally, someone who could grant him discreet access to the gates, a gateway to power, and a chance to tip the scales in his favor. The chapter hints at a meeting between Suho and SungJinwoo, the now CEO of Ajin Soft, revealed to be an acquaintance of the legendary SungJinwoo. Chapter 22. The chapter opens with a glimpse into the bustling world of a popular online game owned by Ajin Soft. The game is alive with activity as players navigate virtual landscapes and engage in epic battles, a testament to the game's immersive and captivating nature. Suho steps into the company building, his eyes widening in awe at the sight before him. Awakened hunters as employees, their faces illuminated by the joy of working a corporate job. The atmosphere hums with an energy that speaks volumes about the company's dedication and drive. SungSuho is approached by a friendly staff member who welcomes him and informs him that the boss has been anticipating his arrival. Guided by the staff member, Suho makes his way through the office, his anticipation growing with each step. He is led by the employee, where he comes face to face with SungJinwoo. A wave of warmth washes over Jin as he sees Suho. Jin is engulfed with joy at the sight of the young man who has grown into a reflection of his beloved friend SungJinwoo. Without delay, Suho dives straight into the purpose of his visit, presenting a compelling business proposal to his uncle. The unexpected proposition takes Jin by surprise, his eyebrows shooting up in astonishment. Leaning forward in his chair, he listens intently as Suho outlines his ambitious plan to clear D-rank and C-rank dungeons. Suho's voice resonates with determination as he reveals his intention to personally clear these dungeons and gather the many drops for Ajin Soft, his confidence unwavering. Acknowledging that he cannot achieve this feat alone, he earnestly requests his uncle's assistance in this endeavor. Jin's demeanor shifts slightly, a hint of suspicion creeping into his eyes. He can't shake the feeling that there's more to Suho's request than meets the eye. He voices his concerns, suspecting that Suho might be driven by a hidden motive, the desire to locate his missing parents. In response to his uncle's suspicions, Suho decides to reveal his guarded secret. He calmly explains that he is an awakened, blessed with the extraordinary ability to level up, his strength and powers growing with each challenge he overcomes. He delves into the complexities of the situation, revealing the existence of formidable invaders from the vast expanse of the outer universe. Despite Suho's earnest explanation, Jin struggles to comprehend the gravity of the situation. The concept of awakened beings and interdimensional threats seems too far-fetched to be true. He dismisses Suho's words as a joke, unable to fathom the reality that his nephew is describing. Suddenly, the air crackles with energy, and Baru emerges from the depths of the shadows, his imposing presence demanding attention. Jin's eyes widen in disbelief as he lays eyes on Baru. Baru confirms Suho's claims to Jin. He explains that he has been a companion to Suho throughout his perilous dungeon adventures, bearing witness to the young monarch's courage and resilience. To further convince the skeptical SungJinwoo, Baru presents him with a key that unlocks not a physical door, but the door to his forgotten memories. As Baru inserts the key, a surge of energy courses through him, and fragments of his past come flooding back. He is overwhelmed with emotion as vivid memories resurface, transporting him back to a time when he shared thrilling adventures with Suho's father. With his memories restored, SungJinwoo finally understands the weight of Suho's words. He sees the determination in his nephew's eyes, the same determination that burned brightly in his friend's gaze. He realizes that Suho has inherited his father's extraordinary abilities. Jin accepts Suho's proposal. He pledges his unwavering support, promising to utilize his resources and connections to help Suho gain access to the dungeons he seeks. He knows the path ahead will be fraught with danger, but he is confident that Suho possesses the strength and resilience to persevere. The scene shifts to Suho, who stands at the precipice of a new challenge. He is preparing to enter a dungeon, his presence gleaming under the watchful gaze of his team of dummy group members. These companions were needed to fulfill the dungeon raid quota. Despite their concerns for his safety, Suho exudes an aura of calm confidence. He has faced countless dangers before and emerged victorious, his resolve tempered by the fires of adversity. He is in control, his mind sharp, his senses alert. With a deep breath, Suho steps across the threshold and into the shadowy depths of the dungeon. As he ventures deeper, he summons his loyal companions, Gray and Essel. The chapter concludes with Suho, Gray, and Essel poised for battle. Chapter 23. The chapter begins with a masked man slinking through the shadows of a nondescript building. The janitor, who catches a glimpse of his face and recognizes his true identity, reveals him to be none other than Lee Min-sung, the vice chairman of the Grim Reaper Guild. Lee Min-sung, a name whispered in awe and envy in the hunter community, had always been a figure at the pinnacle of power and prestige. His awakening as an A rank hunter only solidified his position, fueling his belief that he would continue to reign supreme, just as he always had. However, fate, it seemed, had a cruel twist in store for him. His driver, bearing news that would shatter Lee Min-sung's world, informed him of a startling truth. He had not awakened as an A- rank hunter, but as an S rank, a being of almost mythical power and potential. One might assume that such a revelation would be met with elation, a cause for celebration. Yet for Lee Min-sung it was a crushing blow, a devastating realization that he was not, in fact, at the top of the food chain. The knowledge that there were others who surpassed him in strength and potential angered him, consuming him with a burning jealousy that warped his perception of the world. It was in this fragile, volatile state that Lee Min-sung made a vow, a solemn oath to himself, that he would reclaim his position at the top no matter the cost. His ambition, once a driving force for good, had become twisted, a dangerous obsession that would lead him down a dark and treacherous path. The scene shifts, drawing us along with Lee Min-sung as he enters a dimly lit room, the air thick with anticipation. A group of individuals, cloaked in shadows and bearing the unmistakable insignia of the Itarim, a clandestine organization shrouded in mystery and whispered rumors, stand assembled. Their eyes, filled with a mixture of fanaticism and guard, are fixed on a solitary figure set at the far end of the room, a child, heading the operations of the Outer Worlders. Lee Min-sung, his gaze sharp and calculating, notes that the child appears older, more mature than their last encounter. The Outer Worlder, his voice an unsettling blend of innocence and ancient wisdom, clarifies that this apparent aging is not physical growth, but rather a sign of his steadily returning strength. He elaborates further, his words hinting at a possible solution to the predicament that Suho's companion had previously explained. Instead of relying on his own mana to brute force his way through the passageway, the Outer Worlder reveals that he has been meticulously sending small fragments of his power across time, a slow and calculated process. The Outer Worlder then drops a bombshell, revealing to Lee Min-sung that while his memories remain intact, his personality has undergone a transformation. He cautions Lee Min-sung against overfamiliarity, a subtle warning. Lee Min-sung, ever pragmatic, shrugs off the warning with an air of indifference, his focus solely on the deal they struck. As long as the Outer Worlder fulfills his end of the bargain, Lee Min-sung thinks their personal dynamics are of little consequence. The conversation takes a pragmatic turn as Lee Min-sung raises the pressing issue of the Stardust shortage, a valuable and increasingly scarce resource crucial to the hunter's continued growth and survival. The Outer Worlder, however, responds with nonchalance, his dismissive attitude infuriating Lee Min-sung, who, in a moment of uncharacteristic impulsivity, draws his knife and lunges towards the child. For ease of reference, the narrative henceforth refers to the Outer Worlder as White. Viewers are, of course, welcome to suggest alternative names in the comments, should they find a more fitting title for White. The scene explodes into chaos as White, with terrifying speed and precision, unleashes a wave of psychic energy, effectively brainwashing every occupant of the building in an instant. Lee Min-sung, caught off guard by this sudden display of power, finds himself frozen in place, his attack thwarted before it even begins. White, his voice cold and devoid of emotion, addresses Lee Min-sung's failed attempt on his life, explaining that his previous personality tolerated Lee Min-sung's presence only because he believed the hunter was essential to his survival. However, his current self has no need for such alliances. Lee Min-sung, realizing the gravity of his error, slowly lowers his weapon, his previous arrogance replaced with a grudging respect for the being before him. White, demonstrating an unexpected degree of mercy, spares Lee Min-sung's life. Instead of punishment, he offers the hunter a small, unassuming box. Inside, nestled amongst velvet lining, are several shimmering crystals, which White refers to as stimulants. These crystals, he explains, are distilled essence of stardust, 100 times more potent than their raw form. Unlike natural stardust, these refined crystals can be utilized even by higher-ranked hunters, a revelation that makes Lee Min-sung's eyes widen in surprise and greed. Lee Min-sung, his earlier animosity forgotten, accepts the box with gratitude, his mind already racing with the possibilities these crystals represent. As he departs, leaving White amidst his followers, the scene shifts once more, transporting us to a different location. A perilous dungeon where Beru and Enzel, two characters whose fates are intertwined with the unfolding drama, find themselves facing their own set of challenges. The chapter concludes with a sense of foreboding, a reminder that Suho must continue to grow stronger, pushing his limits within the depths of these dungeons. As the threats posed by the Itarim and the increasingly unhinged Lee Min-sung loom large, only through relentless training and unwavering determination can Suho hope to withstand the storm that is brewing on the horizon. Chapter 24. The chapter kicks off with a sense of unease among the hired hunters, tasked with supporting Suho's dungeon endeavor. Their confusion stems from the seemingly effortless nature of their assignment. Stationed outside the dungeon, they grapple with the surreal situation of receiving payment for what feels like mere idleness. Their bewilderment raises questions about the true nature of their role and the potential dangers lurking within the dungeon's depths. Meanwhile, deep inside the dungeon, Suho orchestrates a symphony of chaos and efficiency. This leaves Beru to direct the Shadow Soldiers, urging them to accelerate their mining operations and unearth the dungeon's hidden treasures. Essel and Gray, their movements honed by countless battles, diligently scour the aftermath of each monster encounter, collecting valuable items and experience points. At the heart of the dungeon, Suho confronts the formidable dungeon boss, a slippery but powerful foe. With a surge of energy, Suho unleashes his signature move, Storm Slash, a whirlwind of razor-sharp wind blades that tear through the air. However, the boss, unfazed by Suho's initial assault, proves to be a formidable adversary, its defenses impenetrable to conventional attacks. Undeterred by the boss's resilience, Suho adapts his strategy, relying on his agility and martial prowess. He engages the boss in a close-quartered battle, his fists and feet moving with lightning speed. As the battle reaches its climax, Suho contemplates utilizing Ruler's authority to enhance his fist attacks. With a surge of determination, his next attack connects with devastating force, instantly obliterating the dungeon boss. Beru is in awe as he witnesses Suho's display of power. He marvels at Suho's ability to overcome such a formidable opponent. In the aftermath of the battle, Suho notices that both Essel and Gray have leveled up, their skills and abilities growing at an astonishing rate. Recognizing the value of their recent experience, Suho proposes that they continue their dungeon training, pushing their limits and accelerating their growth. Together, they venture into the Shadow Dungeon. Within its depths, they stumble upon an unstable dungeon gate, its display a testament to the chaotic forces at play. Suddenly, an urgent quest notification flashes before Suho's eyes, its words imbued with a sense of urgency. The quest, emanating from the unstable dungeon, a task fraught with danger but brimming with potential rewards. Excitement courses through Suho's veins as he accepts the quest, recognizing it as a golden opportunity to test his skills and gain experience. As they delve deeper into the unstable dungeon in anticipation of what's to come, kindly subscribe to Luolon. The scene cuts to a distant pyramid field-type dungeon. A group of hunters engage in a heated dispute. Their voices, laced with tension and animosity, echo through the ancient structure as they argue over ownership of the dungeon and the treasures it holds. Just as the situation threatens to escalate into violence, a figure emerges from the shadows, his presence commanding attention. "Where am I?" Suho announces, his voice calm yet firm, sending ripples of shock and confusion through the assembled hunters. Their eyes widen in disbelief as they turn to face the newcomer, their expressions shifting from anger to apprehension. The atmosphere crackles with tensions and the promise of confrontation. Chapter 25. This chapter commences with Suho's arrival at the Red Gate dungeon. His group experiences immediate unease as sandstorms limit their visibility. The dungeon's landscape appears to be a vast, unending desert. Beru, sensing a powerful magical force, points towards a pyramid in the distance. Suho finds the presence of trucks and wire fences near the pyramid unusual. Essel is suspicious and questions if they have entered a dungeon or transitioned through a gate into a different realm. With mounting tension, Suho attempts to return through the Shadow Realm's dungeon gate. However, he discovers it has been closed from the outside, amplifying the group's worries. Meanwhile, the hunters stationed outside panic as the gate closes without Suho's team emerging. They promptly decide to alert an emergency team to investigate the situation. Shifting back to the present, two groups fiercely debate ownership rights to the dungeon, on the verge of resorting to violence. Suho, anxious yet relieved to encounter other humans, approaches the heated exchange. His innocent question, "Where am I?" only escalates the tension as both groups perceive him as a competitor for the dungeon's control. This situation brings up a flashback, which reveals the memories of a hunter who recounts a prophecy likened to Suho's being. The prophecy states, "The one who possesses the power to raise the dead will appear in the grave." This hunter interprets the desert dungeon as the grave and instructs his subordinate to secure the dungeon rights. When questioned about interference from other guilds, the hunter's response is chilling, "Just use the way of the Scavenger Guild." Following orders, the leader confronts Suho. He issues a clear warning. "Relinquish any interest in the dungeon to avoid severe consequences. If you agree to leave, I'll let you go," he states. Suho, grappling with the situation, recognizes that if this is a dungeon, he has to persevere and fulfill the quest bestowed upon him by his system. Suho's refusal to comply with the Scavenger Guild hunter's demands was met with a swift and violent response. The hunter drew his weapon and lunged at Suho, vowing to end his life. The atmosphere in the room crackled with tension as the confrontation erupted into a brawl. Unfazed, Suho met the hunter's aggression head-on. He threw a powerful punch in response, immediately questioning if he'd overestimated the force needed. However, instead of being injured, the hunter's face contorted with rage. "How dare you go easy on me," he roared, enraged by what he perceived as condescension. The hunter retaliated with a devastating blow that sent Suho flying across the room. Consumed by fury, he then issued a chilling order to his men. "Eliminate everyone, regardless of affiliation." We see as Ezel and Grey dash at Suho, determined to avenge him for what just happened. It seems like a fight is inevitable. Baru comforts Suho, who is trying to recover from such a monstrous attack. Meanwhile, a fight erupts between the different guilds in the dungeon. Suho also joins the fight, blood pumping in shock of the previous attack. Suho is surprised that even the regular members of the Scavenger Guild are able to withstand his own full attacks. And so he decided to try the new skill he learnt along with Ruler's authority. Though in the heat of the moment he hesitated as though he was still uneasy with the idea of discontinuing a human. Not long after, a man from another guild immediately jumped in, slicing a vital area on the hunter, dealing a finishing blow. He commends Suho on his skills, but warns him though that his hesitation against a human opponent who is out for blood would be the death of him. Up until now, Suho hasn't had a need to kill a person, and the thought of this worries him. But he realizes that the situation will not always be an easy one, and so he takes the bold decision, knowing that it would be the right decision when the opportunity to face Lee Min-sung presents itself. The other member introduces himself to be Liu Jing from the Asura Guild. He proposes an alliance between his guild and Suho's team, though he's unaware that he's about to lose his life. A hunter from the Scavenger Guild leaped for an attack, about to take him out cold from behind. Suho is quick to react. Using Ruler's authority to condense his punch, he attacks the hunter at a frightening speed, delivering a devastating blow that knocks him out instantly. His Ruler's authority skill levels up in the process. We see as Suho now awakens a new resolve, saying that he will not hesitate again moving forward. The scene is set for a thrilling battle, as an alliance conceived of Suho's team and the Asura Guild goes up against the Scavenger Guild and their squad leader. Chapter 26. The chapter starts in a raging battle with swords clashing and sparks flying. The fighters look incredibly intense, like they're only focused on defeating their opponent. The Scavenger Guild notices that the Asura Guild is working with Suho's team, but this doesn't deter them. They liken their union to be a bunch of small fries coming together, though Suho pulls out a key, saying that they haven't revealed their full strength yet. He then calls upon many shadow monsters, with the word awaken. Liu Jing is stunned by Suho's feats as a hunter, but is surprised that he can also wield so many summons at once. The battle is intense, and no side is wavering. The leader of the scavenger group wastes no time in joining the battle, clearing the summons of Suho in one swoop. He is excited at the thrill of the battle against Suho's alliance. The tension is set as Baru stares, surprised that the hunter could defeat the monster in one single blow. To the surprise of everyone, a sound from the rear erupts, and a swarm of new enemies emerge. A group of zombies enter the battlefield, further heightening the situation of the battle. Essel notes that they're surrounded by these new enemies. With no time to spare, the Scavenger Guild's leader decides that it would be best to forge on into the dungeon rather than to wait around for the result of the battle. And so he orders his men to ignore the other hunters and head to the boss room. It's unfortunate that the other team is surrounded by the zombies with no other way to go but through. It's a tight corner, and Suho worries that at this rate they might lose the reward that the quest has to offer. He immediately merges with Grey to hasten the progress of the zombie heist, slicing and dashing through the zombies with precision. The sight of this leaves Jing in astonishment, as Suho's versatile skill set seems so unmatched. The scene then cuts into the deeper ends of the dungeon, where the scavenger guild is clearing its way through to the boss room. He takes note of a striking door up ahead and forges into the room hidden behind the door. The group is surprised to see a monster, chained up at the far end of the room. The suspense of the awaited battles fills the air as they slowly enter deeper into the room. The demon speaks an ancient language which the humans do not recognize. Their lack of a response births a rage in the monster, and he immediately breaks free of the shackles of the chains holding him down. The chain is then used as a weapon by the monster to deliver a swift chain of attacks. I mean, that was good play on words, I must say. In less than a minute, the form of the scavenger guild was laid to waste by the monster, and the monster approaches the leader in his ominous demure style. The leader of the scavenger guild is in shock, his body tensed, and his senses faded. It's difficult to wrap his head around the fact that all the tanks who are known for their toughness were taken out so easily. Then the monster takes a stance at the hunter, anticipating his next move. The thought of this move from the monster belittles the hunter, his blood boils, and his body finally moves. He activates a skill, Giant's Armor, and imbues all his aura into a single attack at the monster. He's met with more confusion, as his last attack had no effect on the beast. This truly may be his last attack. And unfortunately, we see as a punch from the beast sends a stamp of hunter flesh to the wall. A chilling end for the scavenger guild members. The monster is disappointed because he's yet to meet a being who can satiate its taste for a thrilling battle. The chapter ends with the movement of the monster outside the room space in hopes of meeting a worthy opponent outside his walls. Chapter 27. The chapter begins with Suho stuck in the space facing the undead. Suho evidently makes quick work of the undead, clearing the space to enable him progress further into the dungeon. Suho attempts to extract the soul of these ancient beings, but a notification appears, stating that old souls cannot be extracted. The odds are against Suho, as he cannot extract old souls, and he also can't use Shadow Authority on demons. He realizes that there are more restrictions on Shadow Authority than he thought. As Suho continues to fight, a massive centipede emerges from the ground, causing the earth to shake violently. The centipede is enormous, and its presence overwhelming. The ground trembles, and everyone is stunned by the centipede's sudden appearance. Suho and the others attempt attacks on the centipede, but it proves to be a formidable opponent. Azel tries to attack it, but her attacks are deflected by the centipede's hard shell. In the heat of the battle, the mysterious monster from within the dungeon appears. His presence creates more tension in the room. The monster is incredibly powerful. An order to get out was issued by the beast in its ancient language, and the zombies immediately clear the space as instructed. The monster approaches Essel, noting that she can understand his tongue. She is shocked by its sudden interest in her. The monster asks Essel about the war between the monarchs, revealing that it has knowledge of the war. Suho, in attempt to protect Essel, moves at the monster, but is confronted with a devastating attack that sends him across the room. The beast lunges at the centipedes within the area, as they seem to not heed to its orders, dismantling the centipede's body parts in a matter of seconds. All guild members are stunned by the monster's strength, and their leader wonders what a monster of such power is doing in what was supposed to be a B-rank dungeon, wondering if the scavenger guild survived such a beast. Suho, who had been injured by the monster earlier, suddenly recovers and speaks to the monster. Suho reveals that the Shadow Monarch won the war, killing all the other monarchs, including Tanak, the monarch of the Iron Body. The monster's expression changes, and it begins to walk towards Suho. The chapter ends in a cliffhanger. The monster's strength is revealed to be at least S rank, and Suho wonders how the monster would respond to the news of his monarch's defeat at the hands of SungJinwoo. Chapter 28. The scene starts with the monster, Amat, conversing with Suho. Amat asks Suho to confirm whether Tanak, the monarch of the Iron Body, died at the hands of the Shadow Monarch. Suho responds affirmatively, and Amat's expression changes. Amat begins to walk towards Suho, but is suddenly stopped by chains that appear out of thin air. The chains bind Amat. Even if he breaks them, they will reappear if Amat gets too far away. Amat reveals that he was created by Tanak and a spellcaster, who abandoned him in the tomb. The chains have prevented him from exploring the depths of the tomb. Amat expresses his hatred for Tanak and the spellcaster, who he feels have tormented him. The chains then drag Amat back into the dungeon. The disappearance of Amat brings a temporary relief to Suho and Essel, but the relief is short-lived. We see as the quest making extreme sounds changes its requirement. It's then revealed that the quest content now tells Suho to free Amat. Suho ventures into the dungeon, and to the surprise of Amat, despite his ominous presence, Suho still forged into the dungeon. The energy in the rooms relaxes a bit as Suho and Amat begin to converse. Suho realizes that he needs to get rid of the chains binding Amat. He asked Amat if the monsters in the dungeon were already there when he was sealed inside. Amat's response is positive. Suho then asks Amat if he is the master of the dungeon. Amat says no. The response is followed by another question, asking Amat if he has seen a room with a large steel door in the tomb. Amat responds that he has never explored the depths of the tomb due to the chains. Suho thinks to himself that the spellcaster must have made the chains appear to prevent Amat from killing the dungeon master. Suho proposes a deal to Amat. If he frees Amat, will he listen to a request of his? Amat agrees, and Suho thinks to himself that he will definitely make the dungeon collapse after killing the dungeon master. Suho explains his plan to Amat, who is impressed by the idea. Amat agrees to follow Suho's plan. The scene cuts to Suho venturing into the dungeon, leaving Baru and Amat behind. Baru comments on Amat's uncivil behavior, and Amat responds by mocking Baru. But he is optimistic that Suho might be able to free him from the chains. The scene then cuts to Suho in the boss room, attacking the boss monster's minions. Suho makes quick work of the minions and prepares to face the boss monster. The chapter ends with Suho facing off against the boss monster, Shika, the tomb's warden. The atmosphere is tense, and Suho is ready to face the challenge ahead. Chapter 29. The chapter starts with Suho attempting to free Amat from the dungeon. Suho explains his plan to Amat, which involves defeating the boss monster and making the dungeon collapse. Amat is skeptical, but Suho is confident in his plan. Suho attempts to lure Amat into the shadow dungeon, but the chain restricts Amat. The chains are getting in the way, even when Amat tries to enter the shadow dungeon. Amat responds that the moment he has thoughts like he wants to leave the dungeon, the chains would appear and restrain him. Suho then explains that there are 2 tasks they need to complete. The first task is for Suho and Essel to defeat the boss monster and make the dungeon collapse. The second task is to cause the chains to lose their function when the pillars are destroyed. After completing these tasks, Amat will be freed from the chains, and he will join Suho and Baru. Together, they will enter the shadow dungeon and escape the collapsing dungeon. Amat responds that if Suho fails either of the 2 tasks, the whole plan will fail. Suho reassures Amat that he has a backup plan in case of failure. The scene then cuts to Suho facing off against the boss monster, Shika. Suho uses his ruler's authority and bond skill with Essel to land a precise blow at the boss monster. The attack sends shockwaves throughout the dungeon, putting an end to the boss monster, although Essel is depleted of her aura due to the use of her bond skill. The collapse of the dungeon triggers the chains binding Amat to fall to the ground. Amat is finally freed from his prison. However, the chains suddenly reappear, attempting to rebind Amat. Suho intervenes, kicking the chains into the shadow dungeon. Amat is surprised by Suho's actions and joins him in punching the chains into the dungeon. With the chains out of the way, Amat and Suho are able to transport themselves into the shadow dungeon. The scene cuts to Essel, who is weakened from using her bond skill. Essel asks Baru about Suho's and Amat's condition, and Baru responds saying that they're resting peacefully. A well-deserved rest indeed. The chapter ends with a notification from the quest, stating that Suho has recruited Amat as a teammate and completed the quest Dimensional Crack. The quest rewards have arrived, and Suho has leveled up, though the scene then cuts to an unknown figure, who is revealed to be the leader of the Hunter Association. He is taking notes and thinks to himself about the recent events, including the disappearance of Hunter SungJinwoo and the reappearance of Gates. He then receives a call from SungSuho's uncle, who requests the Hunter Association's help in rescuing his nephew Suho, who is trapped in a gate. The leader agrees to help and asks for more information about Suho's situation. The scene ends with an expression from the leader suggesting that he is determined to help Suho, but the challenges ahead are uncertain. Chapter 30. Chapter 30 begins with Suho and the Ashura Guild members escaping the desert in a truck. Suho wakes up the guild leader, who is still shaken from their ordeal in the dungeon. He informs Jing that the dungeon has been cleared and asks to borrow his phone. Jing is shocked to learn that the dungeon has been cleared and is still trying to process everything that happened. The scene then shifts to the airport, where Suho says goodbye to the hunters who helped him. Jing thanks Suho for saving them in the pyramid field and asks to stay in contact. Suho agrees and thanks the hunter for helping him get a flight back to Korea and contacting his uncle. Suho is unaware of the details, but his uncle reported the incident to an acquaintance in the Hunter Association, and Suho might need to visit the association soon. Jing finds it strange that a demon monster that seemed to be S rank or above would retreat and allow the dungeon to collapse. Suho attributes his success to luck, but it's clear that there's more to the story. The scene then cuts to a flashback in the shadow dungeon, a dialogue between Suho and Amat. Suho says that Amat's chains cannot be removed, and Amat cannot leave the shadow dungeon because of the chains. Amat responds that the original promise was to take him out of the tomb. and he is comfortable in the Shadow Dungeon. Amat's vibe has changed, and in appreciation he takes Suho up a high building, showing Suho the beautiful view of the sky. Amat says that he can feel the great nature that he missed so much. He promises to follow Suho moving forward. Suho is excited to have Amat by his side. The scene then cuts back to Suho at the airport. Suho says goodbye to the Ashura Guild teammates. Shing is in deep thought analyzing Suho's feats. Suho is able to summon monsters, fight, and even transform himself, but he is just a B-rank hunter. Shing decides to contact his guild to scout Suho, recognizing that Suho's abilities are far beyond those of a typical B-rank hunter. The scene then cuts to Baru, who sneaks out of the shadows to talk to Suho. Suho emphasizes that he was able to level up thanks to defeating the boss monster and completing the urgent quest. Suho's level has risen significantly, and he is now much stronger than before. Baru notes that Suho is definitely around A rank in his current state, and this gladdens Suho as his preparations are moving smoothly. Suho's conviction is unwavering as he states that it's time to launch a counterattack against Lee Min-sung and the Itarim Apostles. The scene then shifts to a new space. We are introduced to the Chivalry Guild, where the members are celebrating and excited about their growth. They were an all C-rank hunter guild, but now have acquired rights to a B-rank guild and a B-rank gate in Ichiho. The members attribute their success to Stardust, which has become easier to buy on the black market. However, someone expresses concern that something is off about Stardust. The scene then cuts to a group of people walking into the room, led by a young man who we know as the leader of the Itarim Apostles, White. He introduces himself and demands that the Chivalry Guild hand over the gate they acquired in Ichiho. The Chivalry Guild members are stunned and shocked by the sudden demand, to which White responds by amplifying his mana and taking control of the people in the room. However, the control does not affect a B-rank hunter who is stated to be free of the use of Stardust. He is shocked and outraged by White's actions. White is pleased that he has someone who is still in their right senses and begins to question the hunter. Although his questions are left on deaf ears as the hunter responds with an attack at White, but White easily kills him. White then orders the other guild members to clean up the mess and walks out of the room. White encounters other people who are curious about the noise, but he easily takes control of them and orders them to forget what they saw. White thinks to himself about the concept of free will and how it differs from his own world. He is confused about why humans seem to operate on their own will, rather than following the wishes of their creator. The scene then cuts to White and his followers opening a gate and taking down a monster. White thinks that he needs to investigate this world more and understand the concept of free will. He sticks a new type of stardust into the monster and orders it to go out and cause chaos. White believes that he is fulfilling the wishes of his creator, but the true purpose of his actions are left unclear.
Chapter 31. The chapter begins at a busy airport. There seems to be an unstable portal just outside. Hunters around the area are guarding the way to the portal, to prevent any casualties. From the look of the dungeon portal, a dungeon break is imminent if something isn't done quickly. Oddly though, the hunters decide against reporting the situation to the Hunter Association. The scene cuts to White, the creator's creation, who is also in the airport. He seems to be the mastermind who has compelled the other hunters to stay silent. It wasn't long until monsters started walking out of the dungeon and into the airport. We are shown a glimpse into White's thoughts. For context, we're referring to the leader of the apostles as White, just so he gets a name. White goes ahead to provide some insight on creations, referring to them as beings made to execute the wishes of their creators. If the creator is bored, they duel amongst themselves. If the creator desires something, they resort to any means to offer it to him. They have no complaints, for they believe that is the reason for their existence. But one day the creator said this to them: "One of my kind in another dimension is dead." Then he requested that they bring the rights to the world that lost its master. They heeded the instructions and gathered believers, departing with their army to the world that lost its master, though they were met with an issue at the passageway due to their large numbers. It took a long time, but they were able to cross the gateway into their destination, though White stated that upon arriving in that place, they saw darkness. Referring to our boy SungJinwoo, he possessed a pitch-black darkness of unfathomable depths. The darkness and its army all possessed tremendous strength and were fearsome in many ways. White stated that upon the death of the soldiers of the creators, they would be engulfed in darkness and be turned into enemies. And so, as the war went on, more and more soldiers died, and the power of darkness simply grew beyond their imagination. Their large army was pushed back by the sheer momentum of SungJinwoo's darkness, and the battle went beyond the confines of the dimension. The army of God fell into despair, as it was unable to get past the darkness for a long time. In the heat of the moment, the envoy of the creator, TL, came up with a proposition. They believe that this world doesn't have magic, and so he opined that they create Mistborns within the world that's lost its master. Mistborns are stated to be the lowest rank of believers. Though they are weak, their explosive faith propagation ability is fatal to those who don't have much magic power. The army of the creator thought that when faith is propagated in the world that lost its master, and the number of believers increases, they can manifest sanctuaries and miracles. Don't worry, I don't get it either, but I guess that's why we're people, and they're... Moving on. And so, all of them agreed with TL's strategy unanimously. And so, TL used his ability to split up his strength and abilities into 5 fragments. Oh, I guess White's name is actually TL. Alright, for the purpose of this narrative, we'll be using the original name moving forward. And so, he had the weakest fragment carry the flames of the Mistborn to Earth first. Just as planned, the weakest fragment wasn't detected by the darkness and was able to successfully enter Earth. However, TL's first fragment, who had just arrived on Earth, met some unexpected variables. They presumed to not have magic powers in the world that lost its master, but they had obtained magic power. Later on, he discovered that magic powers appeared in this world along with the Great Cataclysm. And so, the first fragment decided to wait for the other fragments, and was able to successfully fuse with the second fragment. The scene then shifts back to the scene at the airport. TL vows that no other setback must happen to their plan, stating that he needs to really understand the peak potential of the hunters who possess magic powers, so that nothing will stop him from fulfilling his calling as a fragment of TL. All of a sudden, a loud noise erupted from the rear, and the entire airport fell into a state of panic. The people at the airport are stunned with fear as they witness the arrival of monsters in the airport. The whole situation is chaotic, with the monsters attacking the people within the airport. Quickly, the hunters that were already in the airport at the time of the incident were able to respond to the dungeon break. But it's unfortunate that TL clocks them just in the moment. He discovers that they are also users of Stardust, and so he amplifies his abilities on them, taking control of their senses in an instant. He instructs them not to get in his way, and they humbly obliged. The scene is gruesome, as the monsters are making quick work of the humans within the airport. Just as a human was about to lose consciousness, she stretches out her hand to TL, pleading for help before finally passing out. This action further confuses TL in his understanding of humans. He wonders why we have desires, which he believes that only creators are supposed to have as gods. The scene then cuts to Suho finally walking into the crazy commotion. And in the moment, just as an ogre is about to discontinue a man screaming for help, Suho leaps with an attack that connects to the ogre's face. He tells the man that he'll stop the monster, but he asks him to quickly run away from the situation. TL takes note of the arrival of Suho into the scene, and Suho wasted no time using his carefully orchestrated chain of attacks to make quick work of a few of the monsters around. TL takes note of the black mask on Suho and remembers the description he received from Lee Min-sung at their meeting from earlier. He wonders if Suho could be the hunter who was able to put an end to the Stardust operation that took place in the Hyena Guild. TL wishes to find out who this masked hunter that is soiling his plans is. And so, Chapter 31 ends with suspense on opposing ends of the battle. Chapter 32. Still within the space of the dungeon break, the monsters in sight are relentlessly unaliving the humans within the airport. Though Suho's efforts to subdue the monsters are unwavering, we see as he swiftly takes out the goblins within the area. Suho begins to wonder why the Hunter Association would even allow a dungeon break to happen in such a populated space. But he's aware that his first priority at the moment is to evacuate the people around the area who have survived thus far. TL takes note of Suho's arrival into the airport. He doesn't feel the faith of Mistborns from Suho, realizing that Suho doesn't consume Stardust. He states that Suho is emanating a lot of magic energy, and he likens it to be on par with Lee Min-sung, or a little higher. Our attention is taken back to Suho, who is seen using Shadow Authority to raise the goblins. He instructs them to help those who are unable to evacuate. TLA immediately recognizes the skill as the authority that uses darkness. This frightens him as he recollects thoughts of Jinwoo's infinite darkness. TLA is stunned that a human can possess the shadow authority that he witnessed. He realizes that the masked man's possible involvement in these past incidents may not actually be a coincidence, and decides to conceal his presence for now to avoid being discovered. The scene then shows the sight of a large truck-kun, in the air, about to have an impact on the building just behind young TL. The truck struck the building, and a massive explosion erupted, causing even more disarray in the area. To the shock of TL, Suho wastes no time to spring into action, blocking the effects of the impact from the massive explosion. A monster the size of a big restaurant building is introduced to the scene. We recognize this monster to be the creature that was subdued by TL's group and possessed with the new type of stardust. Suho wonders if this could possibly be the boss of the monsters. But Baru, feeling an ominous energy, notifies Suho that he feels the energy of the Itarim from the monster. Suho deduces that this dungeon break might actually be related to Itarim. In the heat of the moment, Baru briefly senses some familiar energy from TL, but shrugs it off because of TL's weakened state. Suho begins to have a brawl with his beast, even adding all his points thus far into strength to increase his chances of success. TL is surprised at Suho's actions just now, and wonders that maybe he only sees him as a young boy at the moment. He concludes that though Suho uses the authority of darkness, he's utterly weak in comparison to Jinwoo. But he recognizes that Suho still possesses great potential. He realized that it'd be wise to eliminate Suho in this unripe state. Suddenly, a new hunter is introduced into the scene, conjuring the element of fire. He commands fire within the room, targeting the monsters precisely as they stood in their numbers. We see as a firm grip from this, Hunter causes a chain of explosions at the monsters almost instantly. Suho is stunned at the control and precision of this attack, which was able to eliminate so many monsters at once. Suho acknowledges the S-rank abilities from this hunter and recognizes him to be Hunter Choi Jong-in, one of the few S-rank hunters within the country. He praises the beast for withstanding his previous attack, but he immediately responds with a more concentrated attack at the beast, which instantly disintegrates the beast, leaving almost nothing behind. And so, the people around the airport scream praises to Hunter Choi for his heroic deeds against the monsters. Suho quickly takes cover to avoid being noticed by Hunter Choi. Suho thinks to himself that the Itarim apostles are becoming even more troublesome. He can't believe that they just attacked civilians in an overpopulated area. He wonders what they could possibly be up to. The scene then cuts back to TL, who is able to evacuate the airport at the arrival of the S-rank hunter. He stands in silence, glaring at the open city. We see as a little portal appears just by the corner, and TL acknowledges that the third fragment is here. The third fragment greets TL as he comes into the space. TL, aware that he doesn't have much time left, explains the entire breakdown of all the important past events to the third fragment. But don't worry, you can find out as well by watching my other videos after you finish this one, of course. The third fragment, anxious to take over the host body, stops TL mid-sentence and requests that he just read through the memories of the second fragment after they merge. TL is sad that his consciousness is about to be wiped out of existence, but nonetheless merges with the third fragment, as it's the will of the creator and it must be fulfilled. The merge begins as the essence of the third fragment fuses with the body of TL. We are then introduced to a more mature build of TL, who quickly analyzes the memories of TL and is surprised that a human exists who possesses the Shadow Authority. But he concludes that, unlike the decision of the past TL, it would be a waste to get rid of Suho, and rather he'll turn him into a follower, which will make it possible for them to control even the dead. Chapter 33. After all the commotion that happened at the airport, the chapter kicks off back at Suho's apartment. Suho is resting on his couch, looking exhausted. Baru raises his concerns about this to Suho, though we get to find out that he's just tired from the earful he received from his uncle as he got back. Suho quickly gets off the couch, saying he needs to go to the Shadow Dungeon ASAP to complete his daily quest. He says he can't afford to miss out on any daily rewards. Baru is concerned for Suho, as he believes he needs some rest after what he just experienced. But Suho is headstrong, and so the scene takes us back to the vast lands of the Shadow Dungeon. Suho is shocked to receive a notification, stating that he has successfully defeated all the monsters that reside within the Shadow Dungeon and has cleared all his daily quests. Suho is not pleased with this notification. He discovered from Isol that it was Amit that went on a rampage overnight and took out all the monsters in the Shadow Dungeon. Suho is worried now, saying that his growth rate will slow down since he has no more goblins to battle in the dungeon. But then Amut responds to Suho, stating that if becoming stronger is what he desires, he can train Suho and make him stronger in the Shadow Dungeon. Suho accepts this offer and immediately receives a notification from the system. He clicks yes, and the daily quests upgrade to something totally new, stating that he will repeat the same Saitama daily workouts, but now he has to do them carrying Amut at his back at all times. Amut notices that Suho is taken aback by this new development, and decides to shrink his size so that Suho can feel less intimidated to carry him. So Suho takes a push-up position and tells Amut to settle on his back so they can begin. Suho states that in order to acquire the bond skill with Amut, he has to be at least level 80, and so it's necessary to get stronger before he can unlock this skill. He has to persevere with the new quest, regardless of how difficult it may be. Amut sits on Suho's back, and Suho almost goes into shock because of the overwhelming weight. Amut states that yes, he can reduce his size, but he can't reduce his weight, and leaves Suho with no other option. He must persevere if he wants to complete the daily quests. The scene then takes us to a different space at the site of a field-type dungeon. We see a factory where Stardust production is taking place. Lee Min-sung walks into the picture and is seen conversing with the demon Murmu, who is stated to be the Stardust Overseer. Murmu is trying to encourage Lee Min-sung to use the newly concentrated Stardust, saying that TL found him at his weakest, after the ShadowMonarch laid waste to the demon realm. He explained that TL offered him the Stardust, and it gave him and his brothers the strength to take back the demon realm from the hands of the Ladea household. Lee Min-sung is disgusted by the words of the demon and refuses to partake in a substance that he knows nothing about. Lee Min-sung walks out of the building. He's growing impatient with the whole agreement he made with the Apostles group, stating once again that all he desires is for TL to defeat Lim Taegyu. And that, once that's accomplished, he intends to report the entire operation to the Hunter Association, for them to handle the situation. Unknown to Lee, there's a stealth hunter who is watching him. She communicates to the association chairman that she witnessed Lee walk out of the field-type dungeon. She's instructed to stick close to him, but to not get detected. The scene takes us to an office with the association chairman and Choi Jong-in. They seem to be discussing the just concluded happenings at the airport. Hunter Choi states the oddness of the situation. He explained that even the hunters that were within the scene of the dungeon break expressed that they all experienced some form of memory loss. He notes that all these hunters are awakeners that have previously consumed Stardust. He states that it goes beyond just this recent incident, as they've recorded other incidents where hunters have been acting strangely, and the commonality being that these hunters have all consumed Stardust. The chairman states that they're strongly considering the ban of Stardust totally, considering these recent incidents. Hunter Choi and the chairman of the association conclude their meeting with a strong resolve, stating that they must convict Lee Min-sung, as well as whoever is behind him and his entire operation. The scene cuts back to Suho, who we see just barely completes his 100 push-ups with Amut settled on his back. His training now seems more like torture, as his muscles are exposed, blood spewing and all, due to the intense training. Essel and Gray are concerned for Suho because he looks lifeless after just finishing the push-ups. Suho doesn't give up easily though. We see as he immediately purchases a potion from the store to recover his stamina and heal his injuries. Suho's mind is set on becoming more powerful, and his determination is evident. Chapter 34. Suho still remains in the Shadow Dungeon. He's meticulously trying to complete his daily quests with Amit as his body bag. He's not wavering in his pursuit to get stronger. He uses potions to recover his stamina when he completes his sit-ups, and even uses his bond skill with Gray to beef up his strength, just so he can complete the squats with Amit. He employs all the resources at his arsenal just so he can complete these crazy tasks with Amit. Amut is impressed with Suho and says that even though Suho is using all these cheat tactics, he didn't expect Suho to be able to even complete the quest in the first place. The young monarch never gives up and would always look for a solution. After many hours of training, Suho finally completes the quest and receives the quest rewards. Suho thinks to himself that if he'll be able to complete the quest by employing these tactics, he'll definitely get stronger with time. He looks forward to more of the hellish training with Amit tomorrow. The scene cuts to an exhausted Suho back at his apartment. Biru carefully covers Suho with a blanket as he commends Suho for doing such a great work today. Biru then switches on the TV to listen to the news, and the news reporters state that due to the recent incident of the dungeon break near the National Airport, the Hunter Association has decided to employ strict measures against any guild that possesses or has the rights to any and every field-type dungeon. The scene then takes us to Hunter Lee Min-sung's office. He seems to be conversing with some hunters as they are seated. They explain to Lee that the association is wary of field-type dungeons now due to their volatile nature and the effect of what a possible dungeon break could have on the surrounding areas. They instruct Lee that an order has been issued to clear the B-rank field-type dungeon Paju Field that's in their possession, and mandates that he involves himself in the dungeon raid when it happened. Lee thinks to reject a request made by the Hunter Association due to personal reasons, but his response is bypassed by the response of the leader of the Grim Reaper Guild and his former driver, who gladly accepts the request from the Hunter Association. The hunters appreciate the hunter, Lim Taegyu, for obliging to their request. The sight of this only angers Lee Min-sung, as he is believed to be running a big Stardust operation within this dungeon. The hunters exit the office, leaving Lim and Lee behind. And so Lee Min-sung expresses how displeased he is with the decision of Lim Taegyu. To which Lim responds, clarifying that he's aware of the operation that Lee is carrying out in the dungeons and is displeased. He also suspects that the Hunter Association has caught on to the operation as well, his rage sending shivers through the room. Just as the situation was about to escalate, Lim receives a call from a recruiter stating the awakening of a new S-rank who just appeared in Korea. He instructs Lee Min-sung to finalize the contracts to raid the dungeon and swiftly exits the office. Lee is furious, and with this anger he grows more impatient at TL, who is yet to fulfill his promise of unaliving Lim Taegyu. Suddenly, Lee receives a message of the new S-rank, who he recognizes to be TL. A senile smile covers his face, as he believes his promise may be fulfilled sooner than hoped. We are then shown a scene at the Hunter Association building. Recruiters, in their usual way, are relentless in their pursuit to speak to the newly announced S-rank Hunter. All of a sudden, Hunter Choi Jong-in extends a greeting to TL, and it seems TL now goes by Park Do-jin in order to easily blend into society. Hunter Choi offers to recruit Park Do-jin into his guild in hopes that he would accept, but he's quick to reject the offer, stating that he already has guild in mind, pointing at Hunter Lim Taegyu, who just walked into the office space, in hopes that he made it in time. Everything just seems off, but for the purpose of the narrative, we'll be referring to TL as Park Do-jin moving forward, going by the name he used in registering himself in the Hunter Association. A week later, the Hunters assemble outside of Pardew Field Dungeon. The Hunters introduce themselves and exchange pleasantries with each other. We note that an A-rank Hunter is in their midst as well, who we recognize to be the lady who was spying on Lee Min-sung earlier. She's displeased with Lee Min-sung but is more unhappy with the unknown variable, who is Park Do-jin, formerly referred to as TL. The chapter ends with the commencing of the dungeon raid by the selected team as they walk their way into the dungeon. But just as the chapter is about to close, we see Hunter SungSuho right at the back with the mining team. It seems Suho will be joining them on this raid into the Paju Field type dungeon. Chapter 35. The story resumes with a scene from a few days before the dungeon raid. Lee Min-sung is seen in a room with the newly awakened S-rank hunter, Park Do-jin. They are having a little conversation. Lee compliments him on his sudden growth into a brimming teenager and is excited at the sight, though he wonders why TL chose Park Do-jin as a name and why he chose to become a hunter. Park Do-jin reluctantly responds to Lee Min-sung. Lee then complains about the incident that took place in the airport, expressing how risky of a position their operations currently are at the moment. Though Park Do-jin urges Lee not to worry, stating that he joined the Grim Reaper Guild in order to ensure that nothing bad happens to their operations. He explains that he will convert all the hunters that join the raid party into believers, and that when that happens, they wouldn't find anything suspicious there. The scene then takes us back into the field-type dungeon. The party is facing some lizard-like monsters within the dungeon. The female A-rank hunter taps on her teammate to back down as she enters the scene. She quickly goes on a rampage against the lizard monsters, making quick work of them in an instant. Her attacks are swift yet precise, and she leaves no opening against the monsters. The lizard monsters were no match against her, though the mission is only just begun. She takes note that Lee Min-sung didn't partake in the just concluded battle, and is displeased with this. Her attention was taken off of the battle. A risky action it was, as we see that there is still a lizard monster in sight. The lizard monster leaped for an attack at her, though she takes note, but is too slow to respond to the attack. To her surprise, the attack was deflected by Park Do-jin, the new S-rank hunter who just joined the Grim Reaper Guild. She's shocked at the hunter in amazement at the ease with which he took down the monster. She seems to have underestimated him because of his appearance. Park cautions the hunter to be more careful. He then goes out to discontinue the rest of the lizard monsters within the current space. The hunters are eased, noting that the first raid ended quicker than expected. Lee states that it's expected because they usually perform routine dungeon raids in the dungeon to reduce its risk to the public. Though she's still not satisfied, she suspects that something is strange. Lee Min-sung isn't bothered, as he already instructed the demons to dismantle the factory within the dungeon and hide someplace discreet till the raid is over. The scene then cuts to the demons in hiding. They are assembled with some humans who were to be used for Stardust production. The demons are bummed at the fact that they can't be able to meet the Apostle even when he's within the dungeon, though we suddenly see that Suho is outside of a door. He confirms from Baru that this is the location where he sensed the demon's presence, and so he breaks into the room, spotting the demons inside. He immediately begins to attack the demons relentlessly. Suho notices the literal human resources standing in the room, and realizes that they seem to be brain dead. Suddenly, the demon which he dismembered used his tentacles to reattach its head to its body, and then morphs into a frightening beast to defend against Suho. The demon is excited, hoping to be able to offer Suho as a gift to the Apostle Leader. Chapter 36 of SoloLevelingRagnarok. The chapter begins deep within the dungeon. The mining team is seen harvesting the spoils. The miners in the dungeon are complaining, wondering how a dungeon owned by a guild would allow such a great quantity of magic essence crystals to accumulate. One of the miners then points out that he noticed that an E ranker was allowed to join the dungeon raid even though it's a B rank dungeon. He was able to deduce that it was his fellow miner just beside him who allowed the young awakened one into the dungeon, to which he responds, saying he should cut the guy some slack as it's actually a good way for him to earn a little money. Little do they know that if they take a detour further into the dungeon, the young hunter SungSuho is headstrong and about to face 3 powerful demons who reside within the dungeon. Beru is wary of the demon and notifies Suho that the demon's magic power is high. Suho responds, noting that he has been able to sense these things since his sense stats increased. He states that he presumes that he's the same level as an A-rank hunter from the magic energy emitting from him. Suho questions the monster with confidence. Where is the Itarim Apostle? Speaking out in a loud voice. The demon notes that the guy in the black mask is as interested in the Apostle as the Apostle is interested in him, though he responds with an attack at Suho, saying that he'll see him soon enough, echoing that he intends to crush Suho into a coma-like state before presenting him to the Apostle Leader. He wraps Suho up in his tentacles and brags over the fact that he presumes Suho is trapped and can't escape. The narration then takes us to a scene from the recent past in the Shadow Dungeon, revealing Suho after he just concluded his training with Amit. Amut and the whole crew are impressed at the rate at which the young monarch is progressing with his training, and Amut compliments Suho. Not long after, Suho fell to the ground in exhaustion from the just concluded training. He states that this is the first time he was able to complete the training without the usual cheats he employed the last 5 days, and is gladdened by this. Amut states to Suho that in this state that he is now, he's the strongest human he knows. The scene then cuts back to the space within the dungeon. Quickly, Suho is able to effortlessly let loose of the restraints that the demon put on him. We are shown that Suho is now operating on 120 strength points, and so Suho dashes at the demons, ending them in a matter of seconds, punching through like they're butter. He stands at the face of Murmu, the agent of Tiele, and questions him once more, saying, "Where is the Itarim Apostle?" Murmu is stubborn and refuses to respond, but rather responds with a fist at Suho. Though he meets a quick end because we see as Suho grabs him right in the face, ripping his head off clean, and then tears through his build in a flash. Suho feeds this demon to Beru, asking if he was able to absorb any information from his memories. Beru responds that the demon only knows the Itarim Apostle to be a shimmering bright light in the world and nothing more, so it seems to be another dead end, though it was a good meal for Beru nonetheless. Suho has no choice now. He contemplates getting the information out of Lee Min-sung directly. The scene then cuts back to the hunters in the dungeon. Park Dojin takes note that the presence of the demon has disappeared. He wonders if it was done by the Hunter Association. The hunters arrive at what seems to be the door to the dungeon boss's lair. Hunter Bake is displeased and unhappy that she wasn't able to find any evidence on Lee Min-sung and the Stardust operation on their way here, wondering if their investigation was false. Lee Min-sung is pleased as he glares at the puzzled look on her face, knowing she hasn't found anything so far. He whispers to Park Dojin that it would be better to cancel the plan to brainwash the hunters, saying that it'll be better for the mission to end without any casualties, though Park seems indifferent, knowing fully well that this new plan will not work for him. The female hunter is still determined to carry out more investigation before the dungeon raid is over. The hunters prepare to go into the door ahead, but suddenly Lee Min-sung makes a disturbed expression, his forehead turning blue as if there's a problem. He looks to Park and questions him, "What are you doing?" His voice staggering as though he can't breathe. We then realize that Park Dojin just struck one of the newly more concentrated stardust at the back of Lee's neck. Park states that he'll be turning all the hunters in this party into followers, whispering at Lee that he'll have to make use of him before he can get his hands on Lim Taegyu. Lee falls into despair in the moment, recognizing that he has been double-crossed. Lee is furious at this attempt. He responds with a roar. "Do you think I'd get brainwashed so easily?" he says. Suddenly, his consciousness is taken to an empty glowing space, and it seems it's too late for Lee, as he has already been corrupted by the divine powers of Park Dojin. Park is excited and moves towards his next target in the dungeon, who is just in front of him. The suspense from this gives even me goosebumps. Chapter 37. The chapter begins just outside of the Paju field-type dungeon. We see as the S-rank Hunter Choi is seated in his car, seen speaking to Hunter Lim Taegyu. He hopes that the situation doesn't have to involve S ranks, and wonders if Lim Taegyu is worried for Lee Min-sung. Lim Taegyu isn't happy with this question from Hunter Choi. He teases Choi, saying that he knows that he's probably jealous that the new S-rank hunter Park Do-jin joined the Grim Reaper Guild. To which Hunter Choi gives a grudging response, saying that they already possess a lot of talented hunters. The tension in the car relaxes a bit, and Lim Taegyu expresses how displeased he is with Lee, that he's been heading and distributing the stardust even under his nose the whole time. He reaffirms his request at Hunter Choi to keep to his promise and allow Lim Taegyu to suppress the situation in the event of a mishap, to which he accepts, saying that he prefers not to even hurt others. The scene takes us back into the dungeon space in the boss room. The hunters are seen having a go at the lizard monster in the boss room, and the possessed Lee isn't left out of the raid. The female hunter is not comfortable with how unhelpful Park Do-jin is, but nonetheless forges ahead to defeat the dungeon boss. She's surprised at Lee for taking part in the battle since they entered the boss room, though she remains displeased that Park Do-jin isn't helping out in the raid, saying that he's just a newly awakened one and they're his seniors, but yet he behaves as proud as any regular S-rank. The battle continues as Lee Min-sung is calmly taking charge of the battle against the lizard monster. Park Do-jin states that it's now certain to him the power of the star fragment, and he's sure that it can truly make even a B-rank hunter rise to the tenacity of an A-rank hunter in battle. The attacks from Lee are impressive, though the lizard monster seems to be a more formidable monster than was expected. Park Do-jin realizes that even with this power boost, it seems that an A-rank hunter may still struggle with an S-rank monster, and so he opts to use one of the sacred abilities of the second fragment, which is to amplify the abilities of any living being or thing around him. He then amplifies Lee Min-sung's strength, as well as the effect of the star fragment on him as a hunter. Lee Min-sung's aura is undergoing a transformation, his grip on his sword as firm as ever. The sight of Lee Min-sung excites Park, as he anticipates the new heights of his strength, and so the lizard monster leaps for a final attack at Lee Min-sung, hoping to deliver a finishing move, but then Lee responds with a piercing strike at the monster, ground rumbling at the great force of the attack. The attack takes out a big chunk of the building, notifying Hunter Choi and Lim. Everyone is shocked at this sudden display of power by Lee Min-sung. Lee then walks past Park Do-jin as Park looks at Lee in pity, stating that it seems that this is the height of what he can withstand as a hunter, while the female hunter starts to suspect the existence of a new type of stimulant, since A-rank hunters can't use stardust. Watching Lee Min-sung just now demonstrating an attack that she presumes to be above A-rank brings up new questions for her tinkering. Suddenly, we see as Lee Min-sung stabs his sword right into Park Do-jin from behind. Park is in shock as he calls out Lee Min-sung's name in pain, a look of despair in Park's face as Lee whispers to him, saying, "I told you, didn't I, that I would never get brainwashed by the likes of you?" Blood dripping from Park's eye in shock at Lee's consciousness. And so all the hunters have become wary of Lee's actions towards Park, readying themselves for a counter. Lee Min-sung is annoyed, wondering why things had to turn out like this, and he worries about the S-rank hunters waiting outside of the dungeon. The female hunter gives an order not to let Lee Min-sung get away, but they are no match for Lee Min-sung, who swiftly runs through the hunters and attempts to escape. They immediately send the signal to the hunters outside to inform them of the situation at hand. Unexpectedly, Park Do-jin, who has just sustained an injury, gets up, holding his chest. He deduces that as long as one has enough willpower, they can break free of the effects of the restraints of the divinity of the mistburns. The sight of his recovery from this near-death experience frightens the female hunter, but she's unaware of the impending dangers that await her and the group. The scene takes us to Lee Min-sung eagerly attempting an escape within the dungeon. He's pissed, saying that he's obtained the power of an S-rank, but he has to be on the run. He decides that he needs to hide in a nearby city for now. Out of nowhere, a dagger comes flying and stops just in front of Lee. He stops to figure out who it could be coming out of the shadows. We see as Suho slowly walks out of the darkness, revealing himself. He then makes a request at Lee. Suspense fills the air at the precipice of a showdown between the two. "I need you to tell me about the Stardust operation and the Itaram Apostles," he requests with a sharp expression, glaring at Lee Min-sung. Chapter 38. The chapter starts with SungSuho and Lee Min-sung within the dungeon. Lee thinks to himself that not only does Suho know about the existence of Stardust, but he's also aware of the existence of the Itaram Apostle. He then recalls that the description of the person who defeated the Hyena Guild was a hunter with a mask, which he recognizes to be Suho right in front of him. He wonders if it is the hunter in front of him. He then thinks to himself that he cannot be able to wait out the masked hunter, because if he does, the hunters will catch up to him, and so he attempts to subdue Suho, believing that since his magic energy is not up to his level, he can overpower him. But he quickly discovered that to be false. Suho was able to stop the sword and even makes it difficult to pull the sword out. Suho immediately responds with an attack of his own that sends Lee flying. He's shocked at how strong Suho is. Even when he possesses less magic power than Lee Min-sung, they begin to clash, an all-out brawl. Baru is well aware that hunters only rank strength by the level of magic energy and mocks Lee, knowing fully well that he is not on par with the young monarch as he is now. Going back to the scene with the hunters, the female hunter is in shock that Hunter Park was able to heal from an attack to the heart. Park didn't respond, though instead he attempted to brainwash her with a star fragment. But the moment he was interrupted by Hunter Choi and Lim, who are checking in after the sudden earthquake to see if the hunters are okay. Park, noticing the two S-rank hunters, decides to postpone his plan. Hunter Choi states that they came immediately after hearing the explosion sounds. He questions them to know what's going on. Hunter Baek Miho then states that this was caused by Lee Min-sung and then narrates all that's happened so far to Hunter Choi. Hunter Choi is taken aback at the fact that Park was able to recover from an attack to the heart, to which he responds smugly, saying that he possesses a recovery skill. Hunter Choi praises the skill, commending that it must be a very high skill indeed. Hunter Baek states that for now, it's more important for them to go after Lee Min-sung before he escapes, to which Hunter Choi affirms, turning to speak to the S-rank Lim Taegyu, whom he realizes has already gone ahead of him in that regard. And so Hunter Park feels uneasy at this unlikely event. He immediately uses his skill to find Hunter Lee Min-sung, seeing as his link to Hunter Lee hasn't been severed yet. Upon gazing through the eyes of Lee Min-sung, he notices a strange figure battling Lee fiercely. He is able to identify the figure as the Masked Man, and this annoys him. He wonders if the Masked Man may be affiliated with the Hunter Association in their pursuit of Lee Min-sung. Hunter Park is annoyed at the fact that nothing seems to be going as planned since he arrived into this world, saying that things are different from the time when everything was accomplished by the word of their creator. But he wonders to himself, "Why am I smiling?" he says, carrying a very senile and mischievous smile on his face. The scene then takes us back to the overwhelming brawl between Suho and Lee Min-sung. Lee seems really stressed in the battle, knowing that the Hunter Association is after him. So out of the blue, Lee Min-sung raises his voice, a word that sent shivers of confusion in Suho. "Stop," he says, to pause the tense battle. He then asks Suho if there's any possibility that he'll let him go if he answers his questions. Suho paused, confused at this sudden proposal. He then asked if he was working with the Itarim Apostle, to which Lee responds in rage, saying that he was backstabbed by the Itarim Apostle. Then Suho asked why Lee was helping him distribute the Stardust to the hunters, to which Lee responded, saying that he agreed to help him kill someone that he wanted dead. This reply surprised Suho as he exclaims the reply in shock that Lee had such a motive. Lee then states that after the Great Cataclysm, everything that he had built up in his life had changed, complaining that someone who was a nobody before the Great Cataclysm became an S-rank hunter and started to look down on him. He says that in order to live as who he is, there's a certain someone he has to kill. He then asks Suho his purpose of looking for the Itarim Apostle, to which Suho responds that he doesn't intend to kill him, but would rather use words if possible. A mischievous smile appears on Lee's face in disgust of Suho's response of trying to use words to get through with an alien who intends to invade Earth. He says to Suho that if he hadn't gotten lucky and obtained that strength, then he would have just lived as an extra for his entire life. But he says to Suho that he'll eventually be swept up into a situation and he'll have to make a decision to be modest or to let loose. Suddenly, Lee Min-sung's consciousness is taken back to the white shining room. We see as Park Do-jin commends Lee of his strong-mindedness to be able to suppress his control over him, but he says to him that he'll not allow such a situation to repeat itself. We then see as a bright light materializes over Lee Min-sung just in front of Suho. Baru comments that that seems like Itarim energy and it's way more powerful than what they experienced with Braki. The scene seems otherworldly. We see as the light seems to be transforming Lee into a being that transcends all of human rationality. Just when the chaos dies down, we finally see as Lee Min-sung has now materialized into an ominous being, and his consciousness is now fully overrun by the Itarim Apostle Park Do-jin. Park is now speaking through Lee Min-sung, saying that he's surprised that Suho was causing all of this commotion in his plans only because he wanted to meet him. He then responds that he has also been wanting to meet Suho as well, referring to Suho as the Black Masked Disruptor. Chapter 39. Just within the confines of the dungeon, Suho stands face to face with the newly transformed Lee Min-sung. Suho's thoughts are spiraling. He wonders why Lee Min-sung now feels like a different person, even considering the words he is saying and the way he talks. "Are you the apostle sent by the otherworld's gods?" Suho asked, to which he responds affirmatively, saying that they have come to this world to possess it. Enraged, Suho thinks to himself that these guys are the reason his father can't come back to their world, and so he readies himself to resume the fierce battle. Suddenly, an ominous aura shrouds the battlefield, immobilizing both Suho and Lee. We then hear a voice coming from Lim Taegyu, threatening them not to make a single move without his permission. He yells at Lee Min-sung, confused at his new appearance. The presence of the S-rank hunter Lim Taegyu freezes Suho as he's overwhelmed by his intimidating presence. I'll be referring to the newly transformed Lee Min-sung as Birdie, just to ease up the tension of this chapter. I'll not be using this name for long anyways. Birdie says to Suho that it seems they will not be able to talk till their heart contends over here, and then opts that they move to the highest spot in this region. Upon hearing this, Lim Taegyu shoots an arrow at Birdie with the intent to subdue him, but we see as Birdie and Suho are able to dodge the attack just in the nick of time. Lim now begins to fire a rapid attack of arrows at Suho and Birdie to try and subdue them, but we see as they are able to swiftly dodge the attacks with precision. Baru creeps out, asking Suho why he doesn't counterattack, to which Suho responds that he presumes Hunter Lim isn't using his full strength yet. Hunter Lim Taegyu then amplifies his arrows, aiming at Birdie to finish the job. He states that Birdie is too far gone, and he has to end the drama as soon as possible. In the heat of the battle, Hunter Lim feels the presence of a new opponent behind him, and so he swiftly turns to change his target to the thing behind him. He discovers that it is actually a shadow goblin monster that appeared, and immediately realizes that it was just a ploy to avert his attention. Unfortunately, just as he turns back to face Birdie and Suho, he sees that they've already escaped from the scene. Enraged, the scene ends with Lim Taegyu calling out to Hunter Lee Min-sung, worried about the current situation. The scene then takes us to the Hunter Association. The association chairman just received a call reporting to him that Lee Min-sung has escaped. Lim Taegyu apologizes to the association chairman, accepting that this was his mistake, and then he briefed him on the situation. He then states that there was another hunter, to which he explained that he wore a black mask. Hunter Choi exclaimed because he recognized the reference of the Black Masked Man. Lim Taegyu is surprised that Hunter Choi knows of the Black Masked Man. Hunter Choi reports to the association chairman that the hunter he witnessed at the airport dungeon break was also wearing a black mask, saying that he stopped the beast that flooded the airport by himself. The chairman wonders if this unknown person may be SungJinwoo, and wonders if he has returned after having been missing for so long. The mystery behind the person behind the masked man still hangs in the air, as the scene takes us to the highest spot of the region, just as Birdie had opined. Suho walks into the scene, looking sharp and zealous to end this once and for all. Birdie stands at the top of the mountain, glaring down at Suho. Birdie states that he heard about Suho from the demons who referred to him as the ShadowMonarch from the darkness. He then questions if he's related to the ShadowMonarch, to which Suho gives no answer in response. Suho states that he only intends to crush him and extract the information out of him. The shadow from within emerges as Beru advises the young monarch to be careful, stating that after Lee Min-sung was corrupted by the Itarim, he can't really estimate how much stronger he has become. But Suho responds calmly, stating that he has made preparations for this moment. Suho says the word arise, and we see as a horde of shadow monsters flow out of his shadow as Suho prepares for battle. The sight of this excites Park Dojin, as he's now certain that Suho must be related to the Shadow Monarch based off of the Shadow Authority skill. Suho releases all the forces he has prepared for this battle against Lee Min-sung. The sight of this excites Birdie, who expresses an ominous smile, and the chapter ends with uncertainty of both ends of the battle. Chapter 40. We're now at the crossroads of the impending battle between Suho and Birdie at the mountain hill. Suho receives an urgent quest from the system, stating that he needs to defeat Lee Min-sung, who has been possessed by the Itarim Apostle. See why I just call him Birdie? The system just makes everything sound serious. Anyways, Suho is now faced with the decision which he has had to imagine for a while, and so he says to himself that it seems it has come down to this, He has to unalive Lee Min-sung. The tension between these two is intense, and not in a good way. The battle begins as one of his shadow monsters launches an attack at Birdie, though Birdie swiftly and easily slices up this shadow monster. Then, to his surprise, he sees Suho, who lunged at him for an attack. Suho isn't waiting around for his shadow monsters and rather prefers close hand-to-hand combat, though Birdie deflects the attack with his sword quick enough to avoid any impact. He's surprised that Suho used his soldiers only as a distraction but then counterattacks Suho, but we see as he easily dodges and lunges back. Isol swiftly enters the battle, attempting to cut off Birdie's head with her directed at him with intense precision, but Birdie dodges this attack and catches Isol in a vulnerable position. He says to Essel that she's not one of the black soldiers and is confused, wondering why she's amidst the battle. Then Suho immediately jumps in, connecting a kick to Biddy's face, allowing Essel to retreat in the moment. Birdie questions Suho, asking why he isn't making use of the black soldiers in the main fight instead. Confused, Suho responds, saying that if he really wants to see them so badly, he'll show it to him. We see as one of the shadow soldiers swiftly restrains Birdie with sand that engulfs Birdie in an instant. I recognize this soldier to be the boss monster from the tomb where Suho met Amut. Birdie is unable to move due to this, and so Suho attempts another attack at him, infusing Ruler's authority into the impending punch, the impact sending waves of sand echoes around the field. As the dust settles, Suho seems worried, his thoughts revealing that the sand that wrapped Birdie up actually exploded, to which Birdie swiftly exposes himself in the dust and deals an attack at Suho and the rest of his team in a flash. Birdie is disappointed at Suho, for he had initially believed he was up for a thrilling battle. He compares Suho's power to the power of SungJinwoo, saying that Suho's powers are only similar to the ShadowMonarch's, but says that his powers still feel like a completely different ability, one that doesn't even begin to compare with that of the ShadowMonarch. "You're way too weak," he states in a demeaning tone. Suho is worried that the battle has gotten much harder since Lee Min-sung got possessed by the Itarim Apostle, and rates that Birdie is probably comparable to an S-rank hunter now. Birdie begins to throw a continuous chain of attacks at Suho, who we see is currently at the defense, and seems to be at the mercy of the possessed Lee Min-sung. A final attack from Birdie we see is able to distort the gauntlet which Suho had equipped on his hands, but Birdie doesn't stop there and moves for the final attack, sticking his sword straight into Suho, what seemed to be the finishing blow at Suho. Essel exclaims, watching the impending battle but is unable to do anything in the moment. Birdie is annoyed that Suho possesses such a powerful skill as Shadow Authority but doesn't use it the way he should, saying that he'll turn Suho into a believer and will do everything he needs to do in order to take it away from Suho. Suho is confused and wonders if he's missing something. He presumed that his stats and skills were all he needed to develop into a fine hunter. Now he wonders if he needs something besides them in order to become stronger. The scene then takes us to a flashback of Suho and Baru in a theater. Baru asks Suho why he doesn't use his shadow-transformed weapons in battle, to which Suho responds, stating that his current gauntlet possesses more attack power, and goes on to explain that it's already too tough for him to use both a bond skill and Ruler's authority while commanding the shadow soldiers in battle simultaneously. He starts to think deeply, wondering when did he even start defining his limits so easily, and then realizes that it's a habit he had even before he became a hunter. He pinpoints all the patterns of behavior where he just compromised or believed that something was out of his control. Suho begins to think that he needs to discover who he is and get a new reason for why he wants to become stronger, so that he doesn't just turn out as a copy of his father. The scene takes us back to Suho in the almost concluded battle, blood dripping from the fatal attack he received from Birdie. In the dire moment, Suho says the word "arise." Birdie recollects that the Black Shadows are immortal and can regenerate no matter how many times they die. He gazes behind to see all the revived shadow soldiers, stating that, regardless though, they are still no match against me, he said with an audacious emphasis. Suddenly, the shadows begin to merge with themselves, taking on a form of a chimera. Suho quickly releases his bond with Gray, and we see as he's about to do something we may have never witnessed since watching the past couple of chapters. But it seems we'll have to find out, as the chapter ends in suspense of what's to come in the next chapter.
Chapter 41 of Solo Leveling Ragnarok. The chapter starts with a heartwarming scene, painting a picture of Christmas cheer in the city. The festive spirit fills the air as we hear a young voice, brimming with admiration and ambition, declare, "I'm going to become a detective, just like you, Dad." The city twinkles with Christmas lights, casting a warm glow on the joyous scene unfolding before us. SungJinwoo, the epitome of strength and heroism, is relishing this special occasion with his beloved family. His son, Suho, exudes an infectious energy, his youthful enthusiasm bubbling over as he excitedly shares his dreams for the future. "I want to be a detective just like Dad," he exclaims, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Then, with a hint of mischief, he adds, "Or maybe even a track and field athlete like Mom." Cha Hae-in, Suho's mother and Jinwoo's devoted wife, observes her son with a loving smile. The air crackles with warmth and affection as she and Jinwoo exchange a knowing glance. It's a silent conversation, a shared understanding between two parents who cherish their son's dreams. Cha Hae-in gently addresses Suho, explaining that she and Jinwoo have made a conscious decision not to dictate his future path. "We won't force or tell you who and what you should be when you grow up," she says, her voice filled with love and encouragement. "You have the freedom to choose your own path, to pursue your passions, and embrace what truly makes you happy." Suho, however, seems unconvinced. He yearns to emulate his parents, to possess their strength and coolness. "But I want to be strong and cool like you both," he insists, his voice laced with a hint of childish determination. Cha Hae-in responds with a gentle pat on his head, her love for her son evident in her every gesture. This heartwarming scene, a cherished memory etched in Suho's mind, fades as we are brought back to the present. The narrative shifts, delving into Suho's thoughts as he grapples with his current predicament. "I'm not sure why I remembered what Mom said to me back then," he muses, his thoughts tinged with a mix of confusion and realization. But looking back, he never truly stopped to consider his own aspirations, his own unique talents and passions. He had been so focused on emulating his father that he had neglected to explore his own path. Another memory surfaces, this time from his school days. We find Suho in his art class, deeply engrossed in his drawing. His teacher approaches, observing Suho's work with a critical eye. "Wow, you're drawing ants again today," the teacher remarks, his tone laced with a hint of amusement. "Your drawing skills won't improve if you keep drawing the same thing." Suho, however, defends his choice of subject, explaining that each ant drawing, though seemingly similar, possesses subtle differences. "If you look closely, you'll notice little differences in each ant drawing," he explains, his passion for his art shining through. The teacher acknowledges Suho's dedication and the unique quality of his drawings, but cautions him against becoming stagnant. "It's true that your drawings are unique," he concedes. "But it's easy to get stuck drawing them too similarly if all you ever draw is ants." He pauses, his gaze drawn to a particular drawing that stands out from the rest. "You can't really call that one an ant though, can you?" he remarks, recognizing the evolution in Suho's style. The scene shifts abruptly, transporting us back to the grim reality of the present. We find ourselves at the summit of a mountain, where a fierce, almost concluded battle rages between Suho and Birdie. The clash was at its end, Birdie's hand sword piercing Suho's chest, leaving him writhing in agony. As pain courses through his body, Suho's mind spirals in confusion as he states, "I probably obtained shadow transfiguration way earlier than my father, because of my own unique traits as a person," he realizes, a newfound clarity washing over him. "I won't go against those qualities anymore." In this moment of crisis, Suho makes a life-altering decision. He embraces his unique abilities, a combat style based on shadow transfiguration and the drawing of shadows freely in battle, he declares, his thoughts filled with newfound determination. The shadows that clung to Suho began to writhe and contort, their forms becoming indistinct as a new energy pulsed beneath the surface. This unsettling transformation was not lost on Baru. Recognizing the shift in the very essence of Suho's being, swiftly detached himself, morphing out of the shadows, just as they were drawn inwards and contorted, absorbed by Suho. Isil reacted instantly. She caught Baru in her arms as he quickly dived out, her brow furrowed with concern. "Baru," she questioned, her voice laced with worry. "What in the world is happening to the young monarch?" Baru, his own features etched with uncertainty, could only offer a sigh of relief. "I'm not sure, Isil," he admitted, shaking his head. "I don't know what's happening either." He paused. "But it seems the young monarch is breaking out of his shell. Something is awakening within him." Indeed, even Birdie, observing the unfolding events with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, couldn't help but share Baru's sentiment. Could this be, he wondered, a hidden dormant potential within Suho? The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. He realized that this newfound power, if left unchecked, could prove troublesome, even catastrophic. A plan began to form in Birdie's mind, a dangerous plan. He would need to push Suho to the very brink of death, and then, in his dying moment, he would implant a star fragment into Suho. It was a risky gamble, but the potential rewards were too great to ignore. However, fate, it seemed, had other plans. Suho's own power surged, a violent eruption of shadow energy. With a guttural roar, he unleashed an explosive attack, a tempest of shadow spikes erupting from his form, each one a deadly projectile aimed directly at Birdie. Birdie, however, was nothing if not agile. Reacting with lightning reflexes, he narrowly evaded the onslaught, his wings beating a hasty retreat as he put distance between himself and the transformed Suho. Witnessing this display of raw power, couldn't help but vocalize his astonishment. "What's this?" he breathed. He had always believed, as fundamental law, that a hunter's potential was finite, set in stone from the moment of their awakening. Yet here was Suho, defying everything he thought he knew. Was this a second awakening? The very notion sent shivers down his spine. Meanwhile, Suho, his body still coursing with power, utilized his shadow authority to mend the wounds he had sustained in his transformation. The shadows flowed over his injuries, knitting flesh and bone back together. Then he wasted no time in drawing upon the authority of darkness once more, this time shaping it, molding it around himself. A half-wielded armor materialized, a testament to his mastery over the shadow transfiguration skill. He felt the power thrumming through him, a symphony of darkness at his command. As he stood there, cloaked in shadows, a realization dawned on him. The possibilities of the shadow transfiguration skill were far more vast than he had ever imagined. He could use it in countless ways, adapting it to any situation, any opponent. He was no longer bound by conventional tactics, by the limitations of his past self. Suddenly, a shadow fang erupted from the ground near Birdie, launching a fierce, synchronized attack. Birdie, caught off guard but ever vigilant, managed to deflect the assault, his movements a blur of speed and precision. He spun around, ready to face his attacker, but before he could even react, another shadow attack came from behind. "I told you already," he growled, his voice laced with frustration as he parried the attacks. "No number of shadow soldiers will work against me." But as he cut through the last of the shadow constructs, there was a new tactic at play, a calculated and deadly strategy. Before Birdie could fully comprehend what was happening, Suho activated a skill unlike any he had witnessed before. It was the bond skill with Isol, Demon Blast. The very air crackled with anticipation as Isol poured her aura into Suho, their energies intertwining to unleash the devastating power of their bond skill. Even Suho, despite his confidence, couldn't help but feel a flicker of doubt. He knew this was a gamble, a last resort. If this attack, empowered by Isol's very essence, wasn't enough to overcome Lee Min-sung's possessed form, then he truly didn't know what else he could do. With a surge of determination, Suho launched himself into the air, propelled forward by the crackling energy of the Demon Blast. He became a blur of motion, a projectile of pure, unadulterated power aimed directly at Birdie. Park Dojin, observing the raw power emanating from the masked figure, couldn't help but scoff at the blatant attack Suho was launching. The magical energy was indeed intimidating, a testament to Suho's strength, but its trajectory was obvious, a straight shot aimed at Birdie, who was airborne at that moment. Dojin was certain it wouldn't connect, convinced of Birdie's agility and speed. And so Birdie, with a burst of motion, unleashed a blindingly fast sword skill, a whirlwind of steel aimed directly at Suho. The attack seemed unavoidable, a fatal blow delivered in the blink of an eye. For a moment, it appeared as though Suho had been caught off guard, his body going limp, seemingly unconscious from the impact. A smug smile spread across Dojin's face. He had already begun to savor his victory, mocking Suho's foolish attempt to defuse the situation with such a predictable attack. However, his smugness was short-lived. Suho, who was assumed defeated, suddenly stirred. A look of surprise, quickly replaced by a cunning glint, flashed across his eyes. "Shadow transfiguration? It can be used like this too?" he muttered, a newfound understanding dawning upon him. Before Dojin could comprehend what was happening, Suho's form flickered. The terrifying magical energy that had been bombarding Birdie vanished from Suho, only to reappear in a surge of dark power around one of his shadow soldiers. The soldier, now a conduit for Suho's amplified attack, lunged forward with impossible speed, striking Birdie with a resounding boom that echoed across the battlefield. The force of the blow sent Birdie flying like a rag doll, crashing into the wall with a sickening thud. The impact was so powerful that it shook the entire area, a visible tremor running through the ground. Even Park Dojin, despite being at a distance, wasn't spared from the impact. A thin trickle of blood ran from his eye, a testament to the sheer force unleashed by Suho's attack. That's not possible," Dojin roared, his voice laced with anger and disbelief. That's not how Shadow Authority was used by Darkness. As the dust settled, revealing the aftermath of the attack, it became clear that while Birdie was still alive, he was in no condition to fight. His body was mangled, his jaw completely dislocated, hanging at an unnatural angle. The attack, while not fatal, was devastating, a clear indication of the gap in power between them. Lee Min-sung, trapped within his own body, felt a surge of relief as the attack seemed to loosen Park Dojin's control over him. I can't speak," he thought, his voice trapped within his throat. Did my jaw break? Despite the pain, a flicker of hope ignited within him. To think that Suho, despite being outmatched, could deal such terrifying damage. Dojin, sensing the shift in control, tried to reassert his dominance over Lee Min-sung's body. He desperately tried to draw more mana from Lee Min-sung, only to realize that the attack had somehow weakened his hold. Lee Min-sung, capitalizing on this, focused all his energy on expelling the remnants of Dojin's transformation magic. He clawed at his skin, trying to rip away the fragments that bound him, his will to fight reignited by Suho's display of strength. Lee Min-sung was surprised. He hadn't expected Suho to last this long against an S-rank hunter, let alone gain the upper hand. It was a testament to Suho's skill and determination, a beacon of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. The scene cuts abruptly back to Suho. He advances on the wounded Lee Min-sung, each step measured and resolute, his intent clear to finally end the fight. Lee Min-sung, however, is not finished. With a surge of adrenaline, he wrenches himself free from Park's grasp, a chilling smile spreading across his face. "This will be my last act as a villain," he declares, his voice low and menacing. In this moment, his resemblance to the infamous Lord of Evil, Lloyd Frontier, is uncanny. Before anyone can react, Suho launches his final attack. His fist, imbued with the raw power of his determination, connects with Lee Min-sung's chest in a brutal display of force. The impact is sickening, the sound echoing in the sudden silence that descends upon the scene. Lee Min-sung's in shock as Suho's fist pierces through his chest. This dramatic confrontation marks the end of the chapter, leaving us on a cliffhanger, wondering about the aftermath of this intense battle.
Chapter 42 of Solo Leveling Ragnarok. The chapter begins with the merciless sight of Suho's imminent victory against the possessed Lee Min-sung. Suho's hand penetrated deep into Lee's chest, leaving him powerless and awaiting death's door. Lee falls to Suho's shoulder, unable to muster any strength in his weakened state. The almost lifeless hands swing behind Suho. Lee coughs out as the remaining fragments that bonded him to Park Dojin shatter to pieces, falling off his face. Lee Min-sung clings to his disjointed jaw in attempts to put it back in place. We get a little glimpse into Lee Sung's thoughts as he words out, "It's bad enough that I have a hole in my stomach, but now my jaw is also destroyed, and I can't even say any last words. When that alien appeared before me, I thought I had gotten a chance to change this ducked-up world, yet this is how it ends," he says, blood dripping from the hole in his chest, though in his last moments, he doesn't fail to remember the now leader of the Grim Reaper Guild. Annoyed at himself for even recalling who he conceives as the cause of his downfall, then he suddenly gazes at Suho, realizing, "Why does this kid look like he's taking pity on me?" The sight of Suho leaves him distasteful for more battle as his hand drops from his mouth. He falls to the ground, laying beside the now weakened Suho. Suho receives a flow of notifications congratulating him on his win, and he's able to level up as well. We see as Isol, Gray, and Baru walk up to Suho from behind, cheering at him. Baru says to Suho, "I knew you would defeat the Itarim Apostle," though Suho points out that the person he just faced is probably Lee Min-sung, and not the Itarim Apostle, stating that he noticed from his brief conversation with Lee that he was someone who was devoted to his desires. Baru, taking note that this is the first time Suho has unalived a human species, wonders if maybe Suho is in shock from the outcome of the just concluded brawl. Suho, kneeling just beside Lee Min-sung's corpse, states that he realized one thing, thanks to Lee Min-sung though. The scene is calm as Isol and the team stand around awaiting Suho's words. "After I became a hunter, my life's purpose was only to find my mother and to become someone who's capable of helping my father," Suho states. "Now that I think about it, I don't actually have any goals for myself," he says calmly, in realization of his current predicament. Suho realizes that the reason Lee Min-sung referred to him as someone who didn't know what they wanted was because he's only been chasing after a dream that doesn't serve him personally, and he likens this conclusion to a memory where he last faced his father, SungJinwoo, in the last part of the tutorial, remembering how he was in awe of his father and the overwhelming height of his abilities. "I was really desperate to win and was genuinely frustrated as well," he said, gradually taking a stance. "From a certain point onwards, Father started to feel really far away and big, someone I can't even imagine getting close to," he expresses, gazing into the endless skies. As he turns back to speak to his team, he decides upon a new aspiration for himself, saying that as he gets stronger, he wants to become the strongest around. "I'll surpass the Yataram Apostle, the Mornax, and even my father," he exclaims, with words stemming from a strong resolve. This statement makes Isol and Gray feel a little uneasy as they glare at SungSuho. Though Baru words that although he doesn't think that such a goal is achievable, he will, however, continue to cheer Suho on. Then Isol blatantly states that she doesn't think that Suho can surpass the ShadowMonarch. Suho, hearing their responses, says in a nonchalant tone, "Thanks for spoiling the mood, guys," as he then checks the system to analyze the rewards from the battle. He takes note of one of the notifications stating that he has received an advancement quest, asking if he will accept the advancement quest. Suho is taken aback by this as he wonders if reaching level 40 enabled him to receive the option for the advancement quest. "I can finally get a class now," he states, his expression ever slightly showing a hint of excitement. Suddenly, we see a hand taking the shape of an eye socket with Suho centered within the socket, as though he's being watched. This sight slowly draws back closer and closer, zooming away from the young monarch and his trusted allies calmly, till we witness the user of this skill, Park Dojin, or should I say the Yataram Apostle, TL. Park Dojin has taken flight, manifesting wings like a true otherworlder. "I let my guard down," he says. "To think the Black Mask possessed such potential, I'll have to make that masked man mine." One of the authorities Park Dojin gained while gathering the fragments is the scale of equivalent exchange, and this allows him to exchange something that belongs to him for something else of equivalent value. And so Park decides to exchange the life force of the believers nearby for mana, as he drains off and absorbs the life force from the hunters below to replenish his strength. Park Dojin, now rejuvenated, attempts another yet conniving plan to possess Suho in his weakened state. He pulls an arrow embedded with the newly more potent star fragment, aiming the arrow at the young SungSuho. A mischievous smile spreads on his face as he anticipates the outcome. Taking us back, we see as Baru is drooling all over the corpse of Lee Min-sung, as he explains that he'll try to search for information regarding the Yataram Apostle from his corpse, to which Suho approves in hopes of a positive discovery. Suddenly, Suho's eyes widen in shock as we see a gruesome scene where Park Dojin's arrow pierced through Suho, leaving the star fragment within. The whole team is shocked at the sight of this unexpected development. Suho's thoughts spiral in the moment. "An attack? From where?" he wonders, while engulfed in the agony of the attack. We see from a distance that Park Dojin's attack landed a clean hit, and this pleases him. Suddenly, the fragments begin to twirl within Suho, in attempts to corrupt the young Mornax's being. A loud cry filled with the agony of pain and confusion shrouds Suho as he falls to the ground, gasping for help. His thoughts spiral once more. Something has entered my mind, and so we see a notification from the system, activating his passive skill, Longevity, which grants him immunity to all status effects and poison. And so a war begins to spread within the confines of the system in attempts to battle this corruption that is deduced to be similar with the corruption of the Mistborns we saw in earlier chapters. Unsuccessful, the system finds it difficult to subdue this ominous energy that is trying to take hold of Suho's being. Park Dojin glares at Suho's despair and excitement. "With this, the Shadow's authority is ours," he expresses with a senile smile over his face. But wait, a flicker of hope seems to be imminent in Suho's situation as Park Dojin discovers in distress. The system was able to discover the cause of the status abnormality and also managed to dispel the corruption form taking hold of Suho's mind. The believer transformation stopped halfway, Park wonders, a hint of disbelief in his voice. Suho is gladdened that the system was able to stop the status effect of the unknown attack, and in his thoughts decides to immediately attempt the use of Shadow Authority to mend his wounds. We suddenly see as Suho's HP still continues to deplete at a disturbing rate, very close to the point of death for the young Monarch. Suho immediately thinks that he has to do something to be able to stop this quickly before it leads to his own nothingness. Isol, Gray, and Baru quiver in fear at what seems to be the untimely end of the young Monarch, SungSuho. Suho needs to find a solution, and a quick one, immediately. We suddenly see as Suho takes up his finger and clicks yes on the system, accepting the offer for the advancement quest from the system. He receives a notification that states that the advancement quest is starting. To the effect of this, the air suddenly begins to crackle as a portal gate opens just in front of Suho and the party. A notification pops up once more, and it reads, "Only the player can enter the advancement quest. For a smoother transmission, your teammates, the heirs of the Mornax, will be moved into the Shadow Dungeon. Silence shrouds the space as Park Dojin glares in confusion at the scene happening right before him. Just on top of the mountain, the entire space crackles with the energy emitting from the portal on the mountaintop. It's so dark, I can't see anything. Am I dead? It hurts. I can feel the sensation of fire, but seeing as how my stomach doesn't hurt, am I still alive? The words emitting from the thoughts of Suho at what seems to be his last moments. Suddenly, a torch lit up in a new space where SungSuho wakes up in shock as he glares into the vast, unending hallway just in front of him. Suho wonders what may be going on as he was almost discontinued just a second ago by the sudden rapid decline of his HP. As he attempts to form words, all he can say is this place? And so the chapter ends in an eerie of more confusion. But we are gladdened as Suho was able to survive the attempt at his life but must now face this new trial that's been laid at his path. Chapter 43 of SoloLevelingRagnarok. The chapter begins back at the mountain range, just outside the Paju field-type dungeon. Park Dojin is seen subtly descending to take a closer look at what transpired at the mountaintop. He walks to the lifeless corpse of Lee Min-sung, laying peacefully on the ground. "I can't detect any magic power in the surroundings," he says. "I can't believe a gate suddenly appeared and took away the Black Mask and his soldiers." Park Dojin wonders what could possibly be the reason why SungSuho didn't take Lee Min-sung along with him as he escaped. That must mean that the gate that was opened can only be used by him and his teammates, he concludes. Park Dojin then expresses a short smirk, his thoughts analyzing the just concluded battle. He states, "The darkness and the Black Mask, nothing seems to go as planned whenever he fights with these beings. This is interesting," he mutters as the scene switches away, taking us to the new space where SungSuho is now occupied. We see as the young monarch is doing some quick warm-ups while he attempts to analyze the situation. "After I came here, the hole in my stomach has completely healed," he states. "I don't think there's anything wrong with my body right now," as he rolls over to take a stance. He expresses his worry as he pulls up the notification screen from the system, which reads that the heirs of other monarchs can't participate in the advancement quest, and you can't use the Shadow Dungeon key. Realizing that he can't even use his bond skill or call on Isol from the Shadow Dungeon to complete the quest, he gazes into the vast hallway, where he confirms to be the dungeon where he did the tutorial, the dungeon which his father created for him. As a flash of old memories courses through his mind, he states that although the version of him that grew in that tutorial has disappeared, he still possesses the memories from back then. Suho notes that it's a bit different from back then though, as there aren't any knights showing up to face him, and he hasn't received any weapon thus far. All the worries of the situation overwhelm Suho, as he makes an attempt to analyze the complex predicament he currently faces, though he decides to take a detour through the dungeon to analyze its path and see what lies ahead. Was this place always filled with so many passageways like a labyrinth though? Something feels similar yet different about this place, Suho states as he takes note of the unpleasant sounds from the corners of the dungeon. Then, finally, Suho is able to take note of a door, which seems to be the boss room of this unending walkway of a dungeon. The path continues ahead, but there's a boss room in the middle of nowhere? Was the advancement quest half-heartedly made or something? An uncanny question from Suho as he stands just behind the boss room entrance he discovered, though he shrugs it off as he slowly pushes the door open, gazing into the room, expectant of what could possibly be waiting behind the door. He thinks to himself that the first thing he met in the dungeon was the knight as he walks into the dimly lit room, unaware of what's to come in this new scenario. "It's dark, I can't see clearly," Suho thinks, but he somehow notices a figure settled on a chair just ahead of him. Slowly, the figure arises to confront Suho, who has just walked into his room. The sight of this being leaves physical shock across Suho's face, as the being in question is revealed to us at a distance. Standing tall, we see a blast from the past. Suho's memories and experiences from his past life manifested in physical form and is taking steps toward Suho menacingly. "The me from the past tutorial?" Suho exclaims, as he now discovers that the person he's supposed to fight is none other than himself. Suho quivers in fear from this newfound reality as he states that back then, he was able to defeat even Baru, who was at his full strength at the time, in this form. I think I'll be calling this Suho Striker for the duration of this saga, for obvious reasons of course. If you know, you know. The young striker charges up, A surge of aura embedded with electricity engulfs him as he prepares an attack at the young Suho. The energy emitting from this charge sends shockwaves around the room, even damaging the concrete below in a flash. Suho stands at the receiving end of this devastating attack as he attempts to utter a word to pause the striker. "Stop!" he screams, but sadly he's dashed through in a flash by Striker, leaving nothing behind but blood splatters everywhere. Suddenly, we see as a torchlight goes off, as though Suho had just lost a life, like one would in an arcade game. "Arr!" Suho exclaims as he suddenly wakes up once again from the impending darkness. Suho is now taken back to the space where he started this advancement quest. He takes note that it seems he respawns when he dies. His thoughts spiral at the current situation. Why did I see that version of me in the boss room? Could it be that I'll need to defeat him for me to pass the quest? Is that even possible? He questions as a wave of goosebumps engulfs his being. But then, in a brief attempt to push forward, Suho quickly pulls himself together and gets up from his despair. As he refuses to give up, "No, I was told that the system exists for me only to become stronger," he says. "I must figure a way through this challenge." He then gathers himself as he begins to make a plan. He deduces that since the dungeon has multiple pathways, there must also be another dungeon boss somewhere within the vast dungeon. He dashes on in hopes of finding a second door. After many long hours of searching, Suho finally sets his eyes on another door, which confirms his assumption from earlier, and he's pleased. But before he could take another step, his doubt begins to creep in. Wait, what could be inside this boss room? He wonders in hesitance, but is able to shrug it off once again as he pushes the door to uncover the truth hidden behind it. Upon opening the door, Suho sets his eyes on so many toys, as far as the eyes can see, and the one behind this mess of toys is none other than another version of Suho, but this time a young, more fragile Suho, though he soon learns that this child is anything but fragile, as baby Suho glances at Suho. "That's me when I was a child. Am I supposed to fight with a child? What's wrong with this dungeon?" Suho exclaims. Suddenly, the child activates the skill ruler's authority, as the entire room begins to float slowly, showing his mastery over the skill. In the moment, Suho discovers that he can't move, wondering if this is the effect of the ruler's authority skill. Suddenly, baby Suho makes some swift hand gestures, and we see as Suho's sights get distorted, as though he was thrown to the side. The whole scene was only but a blur to Suho. We now see that Suho is left with just one torch. Suho once again wakes up at the point where the quest begins. Nothing short of despair clouds Suho's face as he spirals in confusion. Did my child self just snap my neck in an instant and kill me? Suho is worried, as so far he has only met with versions of Suho who he can't even imagine to rival in his current state. And then, even more anxiety flashes as Suho begins to take note that he had 3 lives when he walked in, but sees as he only has 1 left due to the double deaths he just experienced. Though we are shown that that's far from true though. Due to the higher stakes from this dungeon, the system has blessed Suho with infinite lives for this advancement quest. The lights just keep going out. What on earth is even going on? Suho exclaims in despair at the current situation. Suho then receives notifications that read, "An error has occurred in the system due to the substance from another world. Please defeat the being behind the door with the remaining life you have been given. Once and until your advancement is complete, you will not be leaving the dungeon." Suho is now faced with this outrageous wall and has to surmount it in order to reach his goal of attaining new heights. Chapter 44 of SoloLevelingRagnarok. The chapter begins with a never-ending view of torches, lighting up straight into infinity, as far as the eyes can see. Suho glares up at this unending light as he wonders in shock. Don't tell me, all these lights represent the number of lives that I have left in this advancement quest? Suho is frightened as he wonders if having such an overwhelming number of chances in the dungeon is even a good thing for him at the moment. He states that there isn't a way to level up in this place, which makes the thought of success all the more unattainable for him. Suho wonders if the reason he has been given such an irrational quest may be as a result of the current error in the system, which he took note of earlier. He then receives a notification that reads, "Please defeat the beings behind the door with the remaining lives you have been given," showing that he only needs to defeat 1 boss behind the door. It states that until he completes the advancement quest, he'll not be allowed to leave the dungeon. Suho begins to wonder that there really is no guarantee that the lights above actually represent the number of lives he has for the quest trials. though he settles his mind, stating that he can't give up here regardless. "My only choice is to advance," he states as he carefully walks his way into the dark corners of the dungeon. Suho now takes a detoured stroll into the dungeon as he attempts to analyze what he has witnessed so far. Passageways that seem random, and boss rooms that appear out of nowhere. Suho concludes that there's a really high chance that other boss rooms still exist within the vast dungeon. "The problem is, I don't know just how big this labyrinth is," he says, though he believes he has a lot of time, and so if he takes his time to analyze the dungeon, he'll definitely find something useful. Suddenly, Suho feels an ominous presence approaching from the shadows. The figure peeks its head through the shadows, revealing its presence to be a little toy floating through the hallway, as we then notice baby Suho floating with his toys, smiling menacingly. The sight of baby Suho sends shivers through SungSuho as he's shocked to find that one of the dungeon bosses is casually moving through the hallway instead of mounting itself in its room. "Did he come out into the corridor through the door that was left open?" Suho exclaims. As he attempts to run away from the scene, suddenly a toy flies through Suho's joints, slicing through Suho's leg in an instant. Suho screams in agony from the wound afflicted on him as he falls to the ground in despair. "Did my leg just burst from getting hit by a toy? The ruler's authority can produce such speed?" Suho's thoughts spiral in confusion. How am I supposed to clear the mission like this? Suddenly, we see from behind the striker walks up to Suho, glaring over him menacingly. Suho is speechless as he takes note of the arrival of the striker in the corridor. Striker swings a kick at Suho, sending his head flying in an instant. Suho slams his fist to the wall as he wakes up to his third trial in the dungeon. "It is totally cheating for the bosses to be roaming the corridor," he states. "How could it be this difficult? Did Dad also have to go through an advancement quest like this?" Suho is annoyed at this unlikely situation, though we see as a hint of motivation still resides within Suho, as he states that however, the fact that he's still alive means that all those numerous lights represent the number of lives that he has left in the dungeon. "If the condition is to defeat the being in the room, there's no need for me to fight them, rather I'll just keep challenging them till I find a new room," Suho states as he encourages himself to push forward. The next set of scenes are just gruesome with a hint of crazy. Suho takes the chance trying to explore the dungeon. "It's okay, even if I die," he says. "I have nearly unlimited lives after all. If I just keep challenging endlessly, I will definitely find another boss room door." And so he forges on and on, each time meeting a fatal end at the hands of either of the two menacing bosses. Nowhere is safe for Suho. With the unending trial still repeating itself, Suho begins to wonder, but what do I do if another boss room does not exist due to the system error? Suho stops to think as he sits, looking hopeless. "Infinite lives and enemies that I can't defeat no matter what," he says, plus the fact that he can't even level up in this dungeon. "Isn't this pure hell?" Suho states with a look of despair in his eyes. He then remembers a memory from earlier before, where he states that if he's going to become stronger, he has to become the strongest. And so he bites into his own mouth, expunging the despair he felt with a newfound adrenaline. As the blood drips from his lips, he states that his words from before have now become a chain and is making him move. And so Suho begins to use the blood dripping from his mouth to draw, as he attempts to map out the portion of the labyrinth that he explores whenever he's discontinued by the versions of him. The scene finally shifts away from Suho, back to the city. We hear as an announcement is being made that the Hunter Association has revoked the usage of the Hunter stimulant Stardust. The announcement states that Stardust was stated to be a stimulant void of any side effects, but reports have been confirmed of hunters who have lost their memories after consuming it. Hunters that have consumed Stardust are now undergoing checkups on themselves. The announcement also provided the public with information on the happenings that just concluded at the Paji Field-type dungeon sites, as well as Lee Min-sung's current health status, expressing that Lee Min-sung, who was a former celebrity, was discovered to be the main distributor of the stimulant, thereby tarnishing his reputation as a hunter and the vice chairman of the Grim Reaper Guild. We see as Lim Taegyu is sad but displeased with the turnout of events in relation to this situation, as he pronounces that this is all his fault. As the space widens, we see that Lim Taegyu is seated in a room with Hunter Choi and that association chairman. They're discussing the aftermath of the just concluded dungeon raid. Hunter Lim expresses his regrets concerning Lee Min-sung, saying that if only I didn't lose him back then, this wouldn't have happened. He then notes that when he found Lee Min-sung, he didn't look normal. He didn't possess a skill that could change his appearance like that, Lim says, folding his hands in a serious pose. Hunter Choi, though uncertain, expresses that it could possibly be a skill created with stardust, to which Lim responds saying, "I don't know, but that is a possibility." He then notes once again that the Black Mask Hunter was fighting Lee Min-sung, to which Hunter Choi opined that maybe he is the one who killed Lee Min-sung. Hunter Choi then states in a serious tone that, come to think of it, one of the minors who joined the party was reported missing, as he drops a picture of SungSuho on the table, saying that he is a D-rank hunter who goes by SungSuho. He expresses that looking at the situation, there is a chance that he may be a fraudulent registrant. And so suddenly we hear a voice from across the room, from an unknown party. As he says, "Can I see the picture?" we then discover that the person speaking is none other than Park Dojin, the Itarim Apostle, disguised as a hunter in the Grim Reaper Guild. The air in the room is tense, as Hunter Choi hands over the picture to Park Dojin, who we see inspects the picture thoroughly. The association chairman wonders that there's indeed a high chance that Suho is the Black Mask Hunter, but states that he has gone missing again. Hunter SungJinwoo, what in the world is happening to Suho? He states, worried for him and his well-being. The scene closes off with a menacing smirk from Hunter Park Dojin as he glazes at SungSuho's picture mischievously. Taking us back to young Suho in the dungeon, we see as Suho's attempts at mapping out the entire dungeon is going just as planned for him, as he has been able to map out the majority of the corridors within the vast dungeon. Suho is seen sitting just by the corner of the room as he glares at the map in front of him. No words were uttered from Suho only, but a strong glare, leaving one to assume that Suho is now fed up with this quest and is nothing but anxious to finally locate the last dungeon room, where he will hopefully be free of the confines of the dungeon and complete the advancement quest. That'll be all for Chapter 44. Chapter 45 of Solo Leveling Ragnarok picks up from the Shadow Dungeon. The energy in the room is tense as Amut calls out to Baru, who is spiraling in circles. The young monarch wouldn't come back just because you are flying in circles, Amut says to Baru in his rough but stern demeanor. You're such a cold-blooded reptile. You don't even know where he is right now, but yet you are asking me to calm down? Baru says in his worrisome tone. Baru is so worried for the young monarch's whereabouts that he can't even sleep for a minute. Isol states that she understands why Baru is acting up like that, since the young monarch has been missing for 2 weeks now since he entered the gate. I guess you're worried about him too, Amut responds to Isol. Isol is frustrated at Amut. She thinks that Amut is being too cold even with the situation at hand, wondering if he even values the fact that they're a team. Are you sure you guys know the young monarch? Amut responds. We see as Isol is taken aback by this subtle response from Amut. I get where you guys treat him like a child if you compare him with someone as great as the ShadowMonarch, but I have never met the ShadowMonarch before, and so what I do know is that even if he bleeds, his bones are broken, and he's pushed to the limits of his mental strength, he still wouldn't give up. Amut is confident in Suho, saying that no matter what trial he might face, he is certain that he will make it out alive. This wave of words encourages the mindset of Isil and Baru, as we see them suddenly get a little glimmer of hope again for Suho's unsettling situation, as they express that they just have to trust the young Suho. We're taken back to the sequence from the Shadow Dungeon, where Suho continues to face the overpowered striker. Do you think I will continue letting you kill me? He says, with a hint of determination. Though he meets a swift end as he's quickly knocked to splatters by the striker from only a single punch to his being. Yet another scene is shown where Suho attempts to attract young Suho, striking a descending pose against the little monarch. Though he meets a similar fate yet again, as he's squashed to the size of tender EBA from the ruler's authority skill. I have given up on counting the number of times I die, Suho says. Although he keeps dying, he managed to discover something after analyzing their status windows. He says that young Suho currently lacks any power level, but he possesses the max skill level for ruler's authority. Additionally, he states that the person whom he received damages from just physical contact is the version of himself back when he was going through the tutorial, stating that the class of the tutorial SungSuho is Soul Striker. Well, now you know where Striker is from. He is a level 99 monster, Suho states. Suho then gets up from the floor as he dashes straight back into the unending labyrinth. Over Suho's repeated deaths, he could feel himself getting more and more used to fear. However, he states, this sensation only applies to this place, stating that death is not a thing to be taken lightly at all. While experiencing numerous deaths and challenges, Suho could feel himself getting even more tougher in the process. And so we see as Suho is able to draw out over 95% of the entire dungeon labyrinth on his map, as he glares at the only portion of the labyrinth that he has not explored. If there isn't a door there, he states, that means there is no other way to complete the advancement quest than to defeat one of them. The scene is set for a thrilling sequence as Suho once again runs into baby Suho. Suho takes note of the fact that baby Suho is trying to prevent him from going in this direction. He then dashes at the young Suho in an instant. We see as he attempts to use Ruler's authority to shield himself in hopes that it can protect him from baby Suho's attack. Then a blur of echo appears just in front of him as he just barely dodges the attack from baby Suho that was aimed for his head. And as Suho's confidence raises, he immediately leaps above baby Suho in a flash and attempts to evade him swiftly. Before baby Suho could even react to this evasion from SungSuho, Suho immediately throws his jacket at baby Suho mid-air, blinding baby Suho from his swift movements. Suho's heart is pounding as he gradually lands to the ground. He takes note of an entranceway just ahead of him, noting that that's the only place he hasn't gone to yet. As he glides through to the entrance in hopes that this may be the answer to his unending trials, he takes note of the dungeon boss door up ahead glaring at him. In a split second, he pauses in shock. "It's a door," he says as his hope finally resurfaces. And so he hastily runs towards the door, his face brimming with excitement from this sudden realization. Suddenly, Suho feels the presence of yet another ominous being. A hint of fear creeps in as he takes note that the other one is coming. The Striker. Dashing and bashing sounds all around. Striker makes his way through the hallway in a flash. The air is tense with uncertainty as Suho slowly forces through the heavy doors in front of him. "I must get through this door quickly," he says. Suho worries that since their intention is heavily on making sure he doesn't get into the room, then Striker will definitely end it if he gets the chance. On arriving at the site, Suho stands face to face with his impending freedom and uncertain death, and we see as Striker is glaring at Suho menacingly as he takes gradual steps towards him. Striker dashes towards Suho, closing the gap between them and attempts to discontinue Suho before he escaped his grasp. Suho is lucky though, as just as he was about to meet his end, he swiftly enters the room, shutting the door behind him quick enough to escape Striker's grasp. Gasping for air, Suho makes it into the dungeon room, a dark and cold setting of uncertainty. "Finally, I've gotten away from him," Suho words in celebration as he bangs at the door. However, he then realizes that the quest isn't over yet. Suho begins to ponder on what version of him he could possibly be facing in this final dungeon. The scene is dark, and Suho can't even see a thing, but as he holds the door tightly, a figure once again appears from the shadows. Just as Suho glares into the shadows, a figure fierce and bold walks into the scene, his eyes glaring at Suho without a hint of emotions as he stands wielding two long swords from the past. And the chapter ends with a cliffhanger as we stand to wonder what's to come for Suho. Chapter 46. The chapter begins with the sight of SungSuho about to face what seems to be the last version of himself in the dungeon. He stares at himself in the light-depraved room as he thinks, this time around it's the version of me that's a dual wielder. The tutorial Suho and baby Suho were both versions of Suho that existed in the past. This version, though, is wielding two long swords, the Fang of Rakan and Vulcan's horns. Suho then stares into the status window analyzing the stats of the dual wielder. He takes note that it seems that he has finally seen a version of him that he might just be able to overpower in his current state. A smile spreads through his face, and so he immediately dashes ahead for an attack. He lunges with a flying kick at the dual-wielding Suho. For the purpose of this narrative, I'll be calling this new version SungSuho, which stands for Final Suho. I think that should be befitting, right? SungSuho was able to use his swords to deflect the attack, nullifying the force from the impact of the attack. And so the status windows of both Suhos are displayed, a side-by-side analysis showing the gap in power between them. Suho is excited as he has finally met his match, especially when it comes to their difference in strength. It almost seemed like this would finally be an easy victory for SungSuho, considering all his previous adversities thus far. But then suddenly SungSuho began to activate a rapid chain of skills to aid him in the battle. We see as even the skill from Amut, Body Enhancement, was also being activated by SungSuho in his attempts to turn the tides. This took him by surprise, especially the skill from Amut, because Suho still has a long way to go before he can finally bond with Amut. Finn immediately dashes at Suho, slicing through with his swords in an attempt to connect a hit at Suho, though Suho is ever agile, dodging and weaving through the attacks as best he can. Suho then activates yet another skill, Storm Slash, and at this point Suho is starting to feel a bit uneasy with the battle. He draws out his weapon as he activates the same skill to counter the whirlwind of attacks from Finn. As the battle continues, Suho begins to get glimpses of memories from Suho's own experiences in his world, wondering if it's a mental attack due to the manner in which they are coming. Finn deals a scratch wound on Suho, and he once again gets another memory of Finn from his past. Suho deduces that it seems these memory flashes come when Finn is able to cut through at him, and so he immediately creates some distance between them. The battle is intense, and no side is wavering. Suho then activates his Shadow Authority skill, calling out the word intensely, Arise. A shadow laced with the energy from Finn emerges from the ground and moves with speed towards Suho for an attack. They begin to collide, their movements only a blur due to their intense speed, the Shadow Soldier glaring at Suho with his menacing smirk as they clash swords. It's revealed to Suho that the Shadow Soldier possesses the rank of a knight. What? A knight rank? Suho exclaims as Suho suddenly dashes in to join the battle. Suho is now going toe-to-toe against the enemy and his Shadow Soldier in battle. He begins to wonder that for Suho to be able to summon a knight-level soldier, does it mean that he's able to store shadows at only level 32? The more the battle prolongs, the more Suho begins to realize that the memories from these flashbacks belong to Suho from his own experience. Stating that, in his own world, there's a different Baru, a different Isol, Gray and Amut, all in their young forms, adventuring with Suho, who already seemed quite competent. Though the system gave him a trial that was a good fit for his situation, and he managed to grow stronger through those trials. Suho is annoyed at the system, wondering why he only ever receives trials that are too hard for him to handle from it. As the intense battle persists, Suho immediately blocks an attack from the Shadow Soldier with only the palm of his hand. Suho is feeling very unfortunate as the trials he has faced so far have only ever been torment, and compared to Finn's walk in the park, he lost his life in this dungeon over 100 times to enemies too powerful for him to even comprehend. Suho quickly dashes behind Suho about to attack him, but he's shocked to see that Suho uses nothing but his bare hand to deflect the attack. Suho's wits begins to resurface as he was able to use the Shadow Transfiguration skill to convert Suho's Shadow Soldier into a new gauntlet for his use. We get a glimpse into Suho's thoughts as he states that what he found out after the numerous attempts he made and experiencing despair is that just sitting by and doing nothing will not improve the situation. He states that the problem is not whether the system has errors or not, realizing that the problem is actually in the way in which he has been using the system. Stating that he has been using the system wrongly thus far, Suho finally realizes that the system shouldn't be the one raising him, rather he should be the one using the system to his advantage and laying out its paths. And so he transfers the Shadow Transfiguration to his leg, forming a durable Sabayon footwear as he takes a stance, emulating the fighting style of his mother. Suho then drops a kick at Suho, stating that he'll no longer walk the path which the system has laid out for him, because moving forward his future will only change based on his own decision. Quickly Suho is able to dodge the attack that landed on the ground with brutal force. Though Suho's fate is already decided at this point, as Suho dashes at him, connecting a powerful punch to his torso, smashing him into the wall. Enraged, Suho once again deals a finishing attack at Suho, an attack whose sheer force sends echoes across the wall of the room they were enclosed. The scene was brutal, but Suho emerged victorious, finally able to clear the requirement of the quest bestowed on him by the system. He receives a string of notifications stating that he has received a new title, The One Who Overcame Adversity. As Suho's body fades into nothingness, the system begins to collaborate its data on SungSuho in order to decide his new class from completing the advancement quest. The system then lays out 3 options to Suho, asking him to decide amongst the 3. 3 classes? Suho grins in annoyance. The first class is stated to be Shadow's Heir, a path where the system will guide Suho to actualizing himself as the Shadow's Heir, taking after his father. The second class is Soul Striker, a class he possessed in his previous life, though his previous stats will not return, and he will loose the Shadow's authority. Then finally the third class, an unknown path which the system recommended as the best option. A path generated from analyzing Suho's current experience, tailoring what the system believes to be the best suited class for him. Upon understanding these options, Suho grins in disgust, stating that all 3 of them aren't enough to satiate him for the torment he has just experienced. And so he refuses the offer, but rather he forces the 3 classes into one as he states in annoyance, "No, I'll take them all." A bright light emanates from the decision of SungSuho as the system results that he has completed the advancement quest. Though before the system could give a title to the new class, the chapter closes off, leaving us to wonder what the results could possibly be. Chapter 47. The chapter resumes back in the Shadow Dungeon. We see as Baru is bawling out, crying because the young Mornik has been missing for more time than anyone could have ever imagined. Isel states that it's been 3 weeks, yet they still haven't heard anything from him, and even Amit begins to worry a little, stating that he was not expecting this absence of the young monarch to last for such a long time. He begins to wonder that maybe something may have actually happened to Suho. This statement only made Baru to cry out even more. Suddenly, Gray takes note of the shift in the air as a portal gate begins to open in the Shadow Dungeon. A figure walks out of the room stating, "You guys are all doing well, huh? Long time no see," as he waves to the group in the dungeon. Everyone begins to express their shock and excitement as the young Mornik has finally come back to them in the dungeon. Truly a wholesome moment for the books. The scene then takes us back to the big city within Ajin Soft, at Suho's uncle's office. His uncle is holding a meeting with the association chairman within his office, as he asks, "Is there still no news concerning Suho?" The association chairman was unable to provide any information to calm the tense presence in the air. He states that the current atmosphere in the air isn't great, explaining that a lot of people within the Hunter Association are accusing Suho of killing Hunter Lee Min-sung. Yoo-Jin-ho stands up furious, as he exclaims that there's no way that SungSuho would ever kill someone, to which the association chairman acknowledges, but he states that there's a possibility that he's affiliated with the Itarim invaders they discussed about. Jinho expresses that in the previous world he couldn't do anything for SungJinwoo, but he wouldn't let Suho fight alone in this world. Suddenly, the association chairman's phone begins to buzz, showing an alert emblem across the face of the screen. He picks up the phone to access the notification, which appears to be another alert of a dungeon break within the city. The association chairman is displeased with this situation, as the scene then takes us out of the office space and into the city. We see as some mutated lizard-like monsters are terrorizing the wide area where the dungeon break occurred. Some hunters appeared to be present within the time of their appearance, but their presence seems to be of no help to the impending dungeon break situation. The hunters are too weak to face these monsters and don't even stand a chance. Damn it! Why did a large dungeon break occur in the middle of the city? The hunters exclaimed. What the hell is the guild in charge of this area doing? The scene is pitiful, though we suddenly see Park Do-jin, or rather Tieli Itarim Apostle, sitting just by the corner at the top of a building observing the situation. It seems as though once again he has orchestrated yet another disastrous dungeon break within a highly populated area. This is so boring, he states. It seems that he's trying to create a scenario where he can jump in as the hero of the day. He wants to create an achievement-worthy scenario in order to join the Hunter Association and operate from within. Suddenly we see as a hunter who seems competent enters the scene, in attempts to try to defuse the situation as he swiftly slices across the monster's mouth with his sword. "Everyone, please get behind me," he says to the hunters around the area in a loud tone. He's revealed to be a B-rank hunter who goes by Hwang Jae-hyung. TL immediately takes note of him, expressing that this will not favor his plan for this situation. He immediately activates his skill Amplify as he raises the stats and abilities of the possessed monsters within the area. The monster immediately uses its tail to whip the hunter in a flash, sending him flying to the wall just ahead. The hunter is confused, as he didn't expect the attack power of the monsters to suddenly increase. Though it's unfortunate for the hunter, as this appears to be his final moments on Earth. The lizard monsters all ganged up on him, sending an array of synchronized punches at him and grinding his body to splatters. His attempts to defuse the situation left him literally defused to the ground. This singular act left the hunters in despair as they begin to realize that they are the next target of the monsters. One of the hunters begins to reflect on his life. "Damn it, I got lucky it seems. I only just came into unexpected money to treat my leg, and I finally bought a new weapon. I thought I could earn a living as a hunter again. But I guess it's too reckless for a D-rank hunter like me to try to save people." We see as the monsters are about to put an end to the hunters in the space, as he covers his face awaiting the impact. Suddenly, someone dashed past the hunter in a flash and kicks the monster right in the face. We then see as the figure connects a rapid chain of attacks to the monsters, slicing through them in a flash. As he finally lands to the ground, we see that this figure is SungSuho, who came to rescue the hunters in the space, and to the surprise of the hunters, he recognizes the masked man from the dungeon where he came in as an extra, to only fill up the dungeon requirement quota. "I heard he's a D-rank hunter," he says, "but how was he able to kill that monster so easily?" Suho then stretches out his hand as he attempts to test out the new skill he got from his advancement quest. "Arise," he says, as the souls gradually rise from the shadows of the monsters. He then disperses the shadows, a move that struck me as something odd and new. Different from what we've witnessed from the entire manhwa series. We suddenly see as Suho is able to use a version of shadow transfiguration on the hunters around the area, an act that shocked even the hunters who were equipped by the shadow armor. Baru is surprised by this new display as he asks the young monarch, "Have you now also acquired the ability to use shadow transfiguration for others as well?" And so Suho explains that this skill isn't actually shadow transfiguration, saying that the equipments are actually categorized as items. We then see that the items even have names and stats for each one. Baru is taken aback from this display, as he expresses that even the ShadowMonarch was unable to use such a skill. Suho then thinks to himself that there's no need to cover his face anymore, as he feels more competent in his ability to defend himself. He slowly takes off his mask and then says to the hunters around, "If you can still fight, will you lend me your strength?" as they await the impending battle. Park Dojin gets up from his hiding corner, glaring at Suho as he takes note of his new abilities. He has become completely different from before, he says. SungSuho, is he different from the darkness that fought alone with his own strength? A final question he asked as the battle continues between the monsters and Suho's party. The scene then cuts to a quick sequence in India. At the Asura Guild, we see as a fight is also taking place here as well, between the Asura Guild and the Scavenger Guild's leader. He seems to have come here to enact his revenge against the Asura Guild, believing that they are the ones who disposed of his guild members in the Pyramid Field-type dungeon. We see as the Asura Guild's leader falls to the Scavenger Guild, as they were no match for the sheer force of their S-rank leader. He received information from Jing concerning SungSuho, although the details are unclear. Nonetheless, he proceeds to take his team to Korea in search of Suho, stating that he'll never forgive anyone for touching his own men. The scene then gently takes us to an unknown space as the skies twirl and twirl high into the atmosphere. We witness a portal gate high up in the clouds, and then a glimpse of the long hair of a lady appears. Her silhouette resembling the long-lost mother of SungSuho, who seems to be stranded in the middle of nowhere, standing next to Kaizul, the dragon who aided the ShadowMonarch SungJinwoo. These brief scenes we see shows the weight of what's to come in the coming chapters. As the first half of the manhwa series, Solo Leveling Ragnarok ends on the 47th chapter. With this sudden void left in our hearts, I will now attempt to recommend this new and interesting Murim manhwa series on my channel. So just click here to check it out. With that said, thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel because it'll be really encouraging to me and my team. Alright then, see ya!